Chapter 4068. This guy. Fu Ming's pupils constricted into needles as he looked at the figure walking over in disbelief. The poison fog he was most proud of could not do anything to Zhuowen. Even his god fiend was easily killed by him. Jian Wuqing and Lung Fei were even more shocked. Fu Ming was the strongest among the three of them. They had used all their means, but it was easily broken by him. They were not fools. Naturally, they realized that there was a huge gap between Fu Ming and Zhuowen, and they were even weaker than Fu Ming. Could they really fight Zhuowen? While the three of them were in a daze, Zhuowen moved. Zhuowen took a step forward, and his entire body shot out like a bolt of lightning. The purple gold divine sword in his hand was spitting out a blazing purple gold sword light. By the time Fu Ming reacted, Zhuowen had already appeared in front of Fu Ming and slashed out with his right hand. The purple gold sword light pierced through the sky and slashed toward Fu Ming's chest. Fu Ming felt the threat of death. He screamed and immediately burned his blood essence, gathering all his strength in his hands. Splat! The moment the two collided, Fu Ming's defense collapsed. The sword light did not weaken and cut off Fu Ming's hands. Blood splattered everywhere, and Fu Ming kept retreating as he screamed in horror. Too weak, Zhuowen did not chase after him. Instead, he looked at the pathetic Fu Ming with a calm expression. Fu Ming barely managed to stabilize himself. When he heard Zhuowen's words, his eyes were filled with humiliation. Jian Wuqing and Lung Fei were already pale with fright, trembling all over. Zhuowen's strength was once again beyond their expectations. Fu Ming was severely injured in one move. They would be even worse off if they faced Zhuowen. You guys are so weak. Do you still want to fight? Zhuowen landed on the ground and said disinterestedly. His strength had long surpassed the God Fiend change. He had no interest in fighting with Fu Ming and the other two. If not for the fact that the three of them still had some value, he would have killed them with his sword. Fu Ming and the other two fell into silence. They lowered their heads and did not say a word. Fight? How could they fight? The difference in strength was so great. No matter how they struggled, it was useless. What do you want? Fu Qiong landed beside Jian Wuqing and Lung Fei, looking at Zhuowen warily. He was a smart man. He knew that Zhuowen had only injured him but did not kill him. There must be a purpose behind it. Zhuowen smiled and said, I like to deal with smart people. Tell me, what is your purpose in entering the depths of Ghost King Ridge? Fu Ming's expression changed slightly. He hesitated, but did not say a word. Lung Fei and Jian Wuqing also remained silent. Their purpose of entering the Ghost King Ridge was the ultimate secret of the three clans. If such a secret was leaked, they would not be able to survive when they returned to their respective clans. If you don't speak, then die. Zhuowen's eyes were sharp. He could vaguely guess that the purpose of these three people entering Ghost King Ridge was to target Huxley. Although he didn't have a good impression of Huxley, he was more afraid of the three clans. Obviously, Zhuowen's threat did not have much effect. Fu Ming and the other two still gritted their teeth and refused to say anything. Since you don't want to speak, I naturally have other ways to find out. A fierce glint appeared in Zhuowen's eyes as he reached out with his right hand. Before Fu Ming could even react, his head was grabbed by Zhuowen and held in his hand. What are you doing? Fu Ming was terrified. He realized what Zhuowen was going to do to him. Soul Search. Zhuowen spat out these two words coldly. A powerful spirit surged out of his glabella and entered the depths of Fu Ming's head through his palm. Fu Ming was like a fish that had landed on dry land. He struggled violently, his body swaying, wanting to break free from Zhuowen's control. The side effects of soul searching were too great. Once his soul was searched, his spirit would definitely be severely injured. If it was light, his spirit would be damaged. If it was heavy, he would become a fool. I'll tell you everything. Don't search my soul anymore. Fu Ming shouted in horror. He chose to submit. However, Zhuowen acted as though he did not hear anything. He was still grabbing onto Fu Ming's head and increasing the speed at which he invaded Fu Ming's spirit. When Jian Wuqing and Lung Fei saw this scene, their expressions turned cold. Attack! If the secret of the Ghost King seal is leaked, we won't be able to live. Jian Wuqing was the first to attack. Pulling out the divine sword on his back, he charged towards Zhuowen like a sharp bolt of lightning. Lung Feifei understood the logic behind it as well. Although she was terrified of Zhuowen, her rationality told her that she had no choice but to attack right now. It had to be said that Jian Wuqing and Lung Feifei's timing was very accurate. During the soul-searching process, the cultivator had to be completely focused and couldn't do anything else. When they saw that Zhuowen was motionless, the two women were relieved and were overjoyed. This time round, they might really be able to kill Zhuowen, this huge threat. However, they did not see a sly glint flash through Zhuowen's eyes while he was searching his soul. Swoosh! Swoosh! Two sounds tore through the air. Jian Wuqing and Lung Feifei appeared on both sides of Zhuowen and used their strongest killing moves. Just as their killing moves were about to land on Zhuowen, powerful formation patterns surged in the surroundings. The formation patterns were as strong as a hurricane and destroyed the killing moves of the two. The formation pattern split into two and blasted onto the two women with lightning speed. Jian Wuqing and Lung Feifei clearly did not expect this to happen and were struck by the two formation patterns. As though they were hit hard, the two women spat out a mouthful of blood and fell from midair, unable to move. Zhuowen scoffed coldly and ignored the two women, continuing to search Fu Ming's soul. Fu Ming's only hope was shattered as well. He gave up resisting completely and no longer struggled. His lack of resistance allowed Zhuowen to perform the soul-searching even more smoothly. About 4 hours later, Zhuowen let go of Fu Ming and the latter fell to the ground weakly, foaming at the mouth with a silly smile on his face. The side effect of the soul search appeared. Fu Ming's mind was damaged, and he became an idiot with low intelligence. Zhuowen's expression was grave. After searching Fu Ming's soul, he finally knew why Fu Ming had come to Ghost King Ridge and the secret of the three great clans. As expected, the three great clans joined forces to attack Huxley with ulterior motives. They actually want to destroy Huxley. Zhuowen muttered to himself and couldn't help but be shocked. From Fu Ming's memories, he knew that the protectors of the three great domains were also going to act. He knew that this matter was serious. If the three great clans' plan was carried out, Huxley would not be able to escape the fate of being exterminated. The protectors of the three great domains were equivalent to three experts of the great carefree realm. Such a lineup was too terrifying and was enough to destroy any ordinary clan. What made Zhuowen's expression even uglier was that the true purpose of Fu Ming and the others entering Ghost King Ridge was to understand Ghost King Feng. And once the Ghost King seal was broken, Zhuowen knew that the first thing the Ghost King would do would be to settle the score with him. I must go to the place where the Ghost King is sealed and stop him from breaking the seal. Chapter 4069. In the depths of the Ghost King Ridge, where the Ghost King seal was located in the swamp, black fog billowed and gloomy. Bursts of strange howls continuously sounded from the swamp, and the sound was very horrifying. A figure quickly swept over and landed outside the swamp. What a powerful, gloomy aura! Zhuowen stood outside the swamp, looking coldly at the swamp that was shrouded in terrifying black fog, and his face was very solemn. The black fog billowed, revealing ferocious faces as if they were going to devour someone. I hope it's not too late. Zhuowen was very worried and plunged into the black fog swamp. Suddenly, the boundless power of the black fog was born from the black fog. It was like an invisible giant hand that grabbed at Zhuowen from all directions. It seemed like it wanted to tear Zhuowen into pieces. Zhuowen grunted coldly, while violet gold divine energy surged out from the apertures on his body like mist, and it transformed into a protective barrier that was hard like iron that completely blocked off the black mist that surged over from the surroundings. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he shot out explosively and charged into the depths of the swamp. Human, you've got guts, daring to break into my seal. Don't think that you're a match for my real body just because you destroyed my doppelganger. Today, you're destined to die here. In the depths of the swamp, the Ghost King's grand voice rolled out, as deafening as a great bell. As soon as the voice fell, countless black fog continued to condense, turning into a huge Ghost King phantom. This Ghost King phantom was earth-shattering, and its momentum was majestic. When it punched out, it seemed as if the sky was going to collapse. In front of the Ghost King phantom, a terrifying purple-gold sword chi surged. The sword chi crossed tens of thousands of miles, and its power was terrifying, slashing at the Ghost King phantom. Suddenly, the swamp exploded with terrifying energy ripples, and the terrifying sword chi and the Ghost King phantom were entangled with each other. The sword chi and the ghost chi constantly collided, and the two great energy ripples swept out in all directions like waves. And this energy ripple was getting more and more terrifying, and the range was getting bigger and bigger. The whole Ghost King Ridge was shaking violently because of the collision between the two. The evil spirits, ghosts, and the surviving practitioners were all shivering like frightened birds. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The collision between the sword chi and the ghost chi was indeed powerful, and the area covered almost 1/3 of the Ghost King Ridge. Zhuan was extremely shocked. The Ghost King's phantom was much stronger than the Ghost King's incarnation, and as time passed, the Ghost King became stronger and stronger. The two of them were originally evenly matched, but as the Ghost King's strength increased, the situation gradually shifted to the Ghost King's side. Zhuan was completely suppressed by the Ghost King, almost falling into a state of passivity. Pucci. Suddenly, a figure flew out of the black fog in a sorry state, barely landing on the ground. The purple gold sword in his hand was stabbed into the ground. The black fog condensed again and turned into the phantom of the Ghost King. Its scarlet eyes looked down at Zhuan. Human, this king is about to break free, and you will become the first living sacrifice after this king breaks free. With that, the phantom of the Ghost King strode toward Zhuan. Its huge fist, like a mountain falling from the sky, fell on Zhuan's body. Zhuan's eyes were cold, and he did not dare to hold back anymore. He released his god demon. In the void behind Zhuan, a huge purple divine tree appeared. This divine tree was so tall that it covered the sky and the earth, blocking in front of Zhuan. Boom! The Ghost King's fist smashed heavily on the purple divine tree, and then it exploded into a blazing light. Inconceivably, the purple divine tree did not move at all, but the phantom of the Ghost King kept retreating. At the same time, the magical purple fruits on the fruitful purple divine tree cracked, and the god demons with 3 heads and 6 arms rushed out and rushed toward the retreating phantom of the Ghost King. Scram! The Ghost King was enraged. It waved its hand, and many of the god demons were sent flying. Some of the god demons were even smashed into minced meat. However, there were too many gods and devils. They surged forward like a tidal wave, surrounding the Ghost King's phantom so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. Zhuan looked on with apprehension. The power of the Ghost King was constantly increasing. He knew that this was the reason why the Ghost King seal was constantly being broken. With Zhuan's proficiency in the Array Dao, if he had charged into the core of the swamp from the very beginning and used the Array Dao seal, he might have been able to make up for the gap in the seal. However, the Ghost King was very smart. In the instant that Zhuan entered the black fog, it attacked to intercept Zhuan. Just like that, Zhuan was unable to enter the core of the swamp. The Ghost King's power also continued to increase with the passage of time. In the end, Zhuan missed the best opportunity to enter the core of the swamp. Zhuan sighed softly. He knew that no matter how fiercely he attacked now, it would be useless. He could no longer stop the Ghost King from breaking the seal. I have to leave Huxley as soon as possible, Zhuan muttered softly. He did not stay in the swamp for long. After recalling his god demons, he flew away. Not long after Zhuan left, the phantom of the Ghost King finally finished off all the god demons with 3 heads and 6 arms. He gloomily looked at Zhuan's departing figure. This king underestimated this human. I really did not expect his god demons to be so strange and powerful. The Ghost King sighed. However, this king is not far from escaping. When this king's main body completely comes out, I will definitely let this kid die without a burial ground. The Ghost King's eyes were filled with killing intent. Then, his voice gradually fell silent as he began to focus on breaking the seal. After Zhuan left the swamp, he sent a message to Sa-mei. After receiving their specific location, he used his movement technique to rush towards where Sa-mei and the others were. After a while, Zhuan stopped outside a remote cave in the periphery of the Ghost King Ridge. Seeing the location of the cave, Zhuan could not help but nod. This cave was the furthest away from the Ghost King Swamp. The commotion in the Ghost King Swamp did not affect this place at all. Senior Zhua, you're finally back. Sa-mei had already received the news and had left the cave early. Seeing Zhuan return, she hurriedly welcomed him. Lei Ling, Tuo Sheng, Bing Yu, and a few other survivors of Huxley silently followed behind Sa-mei. Their gazes fell on Zhuan, their eyes filled with respect. They knew very well that if Zhuan had not helped them, they would not have been alive. Zhuan smiled slightly, but his eyes flashed with hesitation. He was hesitating whether or not to tell them about the Ghost King. Junior Zhua, have you caught up with Fu Ming? Tuo Sheng suddenly stepped forward, his eyes bloodshot as he asked. Zhuan looked deeply at Tuo Sheng and nodded. I've caught up with them. What's the result? Tuo Sheng asked excitedly. Zhuan waved his sleeve, and a figure fell to the ground in a sorry state. Tuo Sheng's eyes turned red when he saw it. Chapter 4070. Fu Ming. When the crowd saw Fu Ming, they were shocked and took a few steps back. It was not their fault. They had been put in such a difficult position by Fu Ming that they had almost died in his hands. But soon, they realized that Fu Ming was very strange. He was just standing there and smiling foolishly, saliva dripping from his mouth. He did not look like the strongest genius of the Jinshui clan. He looked more like a fool who only knew how to smile foolishly. Don't worry, everyone. I have searched Fu Ming's soul by force. He will not be a threat to you, Zhuan said faintly as he looked at Tuo Sheng in surprise. When Fu Ming appeared, Tuo Sheng did not retreat. He just stared at Fu Ming, his eyes filled with murderous intent. When the crowd heard this, they were relieved. The respect they had for Zhuan grew. Fu Ming was such a terrifying elite, but he was easily captured by Zhuan. It showed how powerful the latter was. Junior brother Zhua, this Fu Ming, can you let me deal with him? Suddenly, Tuo Sheng knelt in front of Zhuan and kowtowed to Zhuan. His voice was filled with pleading. Senior brother Zhua, senior brother Tuo Sheng has always had strong feelings for senior sister Liunian. But Fu Ming killed senior sister Liunian. Just as Zhuan was hesitating, Sa-mei's voice rang in Zhuan's mind. Then I'll leave him to you. Zhuan nodded and helped Tuo Sheng up. Originally, he had planned to capture Fu Ming and the other two to make the three patriarchs have some scruples. But Fu Ming was already a fool and was of little value. So, there was no need for Zhuan to keep Fu Ming alive. Thank you. Junior brother Zhua, Tuo Sheng will never forget your kindness today. Tuo Sheng bowed to Zhuan solemnly. He then stood up and pulled Fu Ming, who was still smiling foolishly, into the forest at the back of the mountain. Soon after, the crowd heard a series of shrill screams. The blood-curdling screams continued for a long time. The next day, Tuo Sheng returned from the back of the mountain under everyone's fearful gazes and sat in a corner without saying a word. Zhuan sat in the deepest part of the cave, which was also the best spot. The rest of the people silently distanced themselves from him to show Zhuan's position in the crowd. In the end, Zhuan did not tell the crowd the secret of the Ghost King's seal and the three clans. This secret was of great importance. He understood that if he revealed it now, it would definitely cause chaos among the people, and the consequences would be unpredictable. He planned to reveal this secret to everyone after leaving the Ghost King Ridge. Then, he could take advantage of the chaos to leave the Hushu clan. After all, the Hushu clan had nothing to do with him. He didn't want to get involved in this mess. There's still 3 days left before we leave the Ghost King Ridge. These 3 days are enough for me to completely refine the energy of the Ghost King incarnation. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He flipped his right hand, and an irregular black crystal appeared in his palm. It was the energy crystal of the Ghost King's incarnation. During this period, he had been absorbing the energy in it. Coupled with the rich energy in the Ghost King's Ridge, his cultivation increased rapidly. It was enough to reach a level thousands of times that of the outside world. He had a premonition that after refining the crystal, he would break through again. If I advance to the ancient star transformation, I will defeat all the ancient star cultivators. Zhuowen's eyes flashed. His celestial demon transformation already had such terrifying strength. Advancing to the ancient star transformation would only be more terrifying. No one in the ancient star transformation could compete with him. I hope the Ghost King doesn't break the seal so early. Zhuowen thought to himself and began to concentrate on refining the crystal. Zhuowen's cultivation caused a great commotion. The energy emitted by the black crystal in his hand was too pure. It was much purer than the energy in the Ghost King's Ridge. In the cave, Lei Ling and the rest were alarmed by the commotion caused by Zhuowen's cultivation. They looked at the scene in bewilderment. There was even a trace of greed in their eyes. However, they did not have the guts to snatch it. This was because the young man in front of them was not someone they could afford to offend. Time passed day by day. On the morning of the third day, a ray of light shot into the Ghost King's Ridge, which was shrouded in black fog all year round. Everyone in the cave seemed to have sensed it. They ran out excitedly and looked at the sky. The black fog in the sky churned, and a faint crack appeared. A wisp of golden light shone down from the depths of the clouds. At the same time, everyone's hearts throbbed. It's almost a month's time. This is the fluctuation of teleportation. We are about to be teleported out, Lei Ling said excitedly. Same, Bingyu, and the rest were also excited. They had finally made it through the month and could leave this godforsaken place. However, no one realized that the black fog in the Ghost King's Ridge today was much thicker than usual. Almost the entire area was covered in black fog. Furthermore, they did not see that in the depths of the black fog, pairs of scarlet eyes gradually lit up and stared at them greedily. The few of them were not excited for long. The ray of light in the sky was blocked by a strange black fog. The fluctuation of teleportation that everyone felt disappeared. The surroundings were plunged into darkness again. What happened? Why is the light of teleportation blocked? Today is the last day of the deadline. We should be teleported now. Why is there no reaction at all? Lei Ling and the rest were still in a state of panic. They were puzzled. Look, there's so many ghosts. Suddenly, Bingyu summoned the divine demon and reminded them loudly. Same, Tuo Sheng, and Lei Ling then realized that the surrounding black fog was rolling. In the black fog, ghostly figures were moving faintly and were approaching them. How is this possible? Ghosts can only be seen in the depths of the Ghost King's Ridge. We are obviously at the outermost area. Why are we seeing ghosts? And there are too many of these ghosts. Lei Ling's pupils shrank to the size of needles. He also summoned his divine demon and said in disbelief. Same and Tuo Sheng did not speak. After summoning their divine demons, they looked at their surroundings solemnly. Boom, boom, boom. The entire Ghost King's Ridge shook violently. Then, cracks appeared on the ground, and streams of lava spewed out from the depths of the ground. Something is approaching us, and it's a big guy. Lei Ling's eyes shot out golden lightning. He looked into the depths of the Ghost King's Ridge. There, he saw a huge figure running towards them. What made Lei Ling even more astonished was that the aura that this gigantic figure gave off was simply too terrifying, especially when he saw the vague shape of the figure. He felt as if he had been hit hard. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He quickly withdrew his eye technique and did not dare to look anymore. Senior Lei Ling, what happened? Same asked anxiously. Chapter 4071. Ghost King. Everyone was shocked and looked at Lei Ling in disbelief. Among them, only Lei Ling had cultivated the eye technique's superpower. Hence, in the black fog, Lei Ling's vision was much further than theirs. That is indeed the Ghost King, and this Ghost King is walking towards us. I guess the reason why the Ghost King Ridge's teleportation is ineffective is because of the Ghost King. Lei Ling took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "Sa Mei, Tua Sheng," Bing Yu and the rest gasped. "What should we do?" "That is the Ghost King," a female cultivator said helplessly. Everyone was silent, and no one answered her question as they did not know what to do. Boom, boom. The footsteps were getting heavier and closer to them. As for the surrounding ghosts, they were trembling. They did not launch an attack, but waited silently for the Ghost King. "Zhuowen, come out. I know you were there." A thunderous voice came from the front. It was the Ghost King's voice, and it reverberated in the sky. Lei Ling and the rest were shocked. They could not believe that the Ghost King had come here for Zhuowen. Although they knew that Zhuowen was strong, they could not imagine how Zhuowen had offended the Ghost King. After all, the Ghost King had been sealed in the sealed ground, and the two of them had never come into contact. "You destroyed my incarnation and tried to stop me from breaking the seal. Come out and accept your death." Then, the Ghost King's voice was heard again. Everyone then understood why the Ghost King was looking for Zhuowen. The incarnation of the Ghost King? How did Junior Marshal Brother Zhuowen manage to kill it? It was placed in the sealed ground by the tribe leader. Tua Sheng mumbled to himself anxiously. Lei Ling, Bing Yu, and the rest were also puzzled, but they were in awe of Zhuowen's strength. It was terrifying that he could destroy the incarnation of the Ghost King by himself. On the other hand, Sa Mei's beautiful eyes were filled with complex emotions. She had already guessed the reason why Zhuowen had parted ways with her and entered the Ghost King Ridge. Ghost King. In the depths of the cave, Zhuowen suddenly opened his eyes, which emitted an intense and sharp light. At this moment, an extremely terrifying aura was emanating from Zhuowen's body. This aura was like an abyss, like an ocean, like a mountain, and unfathomable. He sighed softly. In these 3 days, he had indeed completely refined the crystal of the Ghost King's incarnation. However, he had not been able to successfully advance to the ancient star transformation. He had only taken half a step into it. He knew very well that the reason he couldn't successfully enter the ancient star transformation wasn't because he didn't have enough cultivation energy, but because he didn't have enough comprehension of the ancient star transformation. As long as he comprehended the true meaning of the ancient star transformation, he would be able to advance to the ancient star transformation. Damn it, why did the Ghost King have to come out at this time? Zhuowen's face turned ugly. He stood up and rushed out of the cave. At the same time, the Ghost King had already arrived at where Lei Ling and the others were. He was silently looking down on Lei Ling and the others, as if he was looking down on ants with contempt and disdain. Lei Ling, Bing Yu, and the others looked at the Ghost King in front of them. Their bodies trembled, and their legs turned to jelly. It's just a bunch of ants. That guy isn't here. Ants, it's better for you to die. The Ghost King shook his head. His right hand descended from the sky and mercilessly struck Lei Ling and the others. Let's fight. Lei Ling, Bing Yu, and the others were considered top geniuses in Huxley. Although they knew that they were no match for the Ghost King, they knew that they couldn't allow themselves to be captured. They all took out their divine demons and sacred weapons to meet the Ghost King's attack. Unfortunately, their combined attack was too weak. The moment it came into contact with the Ghost King's palm, it shattered. It's over. Lei Ling looked at the scene, and his face turned pale. His eyes were filled with despair. The others also closed their eyes in despair. Rumble. Just as the Ghost King's palm was about to land and crush everyone, a figure rushed out at an incredible speed and blocked the palm. Purple golden energy surged into the sky like a tidal wave, turning into a towering purple divine tree that stood in front of the palm. Bang! A strong collision sound was heard. The entire space of Ghost King Ridge was shattered and collapsed. The Ghost King's huge palm was blocked. The figure that was supporting the purple sacred tree groaned and retreated. As for the purple divine tree, it seemed to have dimmed a little. Why aren't you running? Zhuan had just stabilized himself when he shouted at Lei Ling, Sam Mei, and the others. Lei Ling and the others had just recovered from the earth-shattering collision when they heard Zhuan shout. They all took out their flying sacred weapons and quickly fled. Sam Mei and Tuo Sheng stayed behind and looked at Zhuan with determination. Why aren't you running? Zhuan frowned and shouted. Junior brother Zhua, you've done me a great favor. Although I'm not powerful enough, I can repay your kindness with my life. Tuo Sheng bowed deeply and said solemnly, Senior brother Zhua, Master told me to stay close to you in Ghost King Ridge, so I can't leave. Same said resolutely. Zhuan frowned slightly, but did not say anything. He landed beside the two of them. At this moment, the Ghost King looked at his palm and then at Zhuan. He sneered and said, Zhuan, you lowly human. I didn't expect your strength to have improved. This exorcism power disgusts me even more. It's a pity that you're facing my real body. So what if your exorcism power has a great suppressive effect on me? I can still crush you. The Ghost King was filled with murderous intent. His mountain-like palm hit the purple sacred tree again. Every time he hit it, terrifying energy ripples and waves burst out. Puff! Zhuan spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was as pale as snow. The Ghost King was right. The gap between him and the Ghost King was too big. Even if the exorcism power had a great suppressive effect on the Ghost King, it could not make up for the huge gap between them. As the Ghost King continued to hit it, the purple sacred tree, no matter how magical and resistant it was, gradually dimmed. However, Zhuan was very calm. There was no trace of panic in his eyes. Same and Tuo Sheng were already prepared to die. They were also very calm. Great! The Ghost King laughed complacently. He hit it again. Heaven and earth cracked, and the sun and moon dimmed. He believed that with this hit, the purple sacred tree would completely disintegrate. Zhuan and the others would also die under this hit. However, he did not see the intense light in Zhuan's eyes. What's more, they didn't see Zhuan's 10 fingers moving together, as well as the obscure runes surging out from his hands. The Ghost King's palm fell, but it did not collide with the purple sacred tree. This was because the purple sacred tree had been retracted into Zhuan's body. Chapter 4072. Ghost King Ridge was Huxley's forbidden area. Since ancient times, there had been many formation masters in the clan who had constantly set up various prohibitions in Ghost King Ridge. These restrictive spells were too powerful. They formed an invisible barrier around the Ghost King Ridge, completely isolating the Ghost King Ridge from the outside world, forming a world of its own. After countless years of accumulation, the power of the prohibitions in Ghost King Ridge had reached a terrifying level. When Zhuan first entered the Ghost King Ridge, he had already noticed this. Therefore, in the process of entering Ghost King Ridge, he had thoroughly studied all the prohibitions in Ghost King Ridge and had a good understanding of them. Just now, when he blocked the Ghost King's attack with the purple divine tree, he had secretly communicated with the core of countless prohibitions in Ghost King Ridge with his own formation inscriptions. At this moment, he had completely grasped the core of the prohibitions. It could be said that countless prohibitions in Ghost King Ridge were under his control. The Ghost King was shocked. His right hand and even his whole body were wrapped in dense formation inscriptions. He was like a drowning man, constantly struggling in the formation inscriptions, trying to leave the sea of formation inscriptions. The Ghost King was indeed powerful. Every move of his was full of terrifying, destructive energy. The energy of Ghost King Ridge's prohibitions and formation inscriptions was suppressed by him. However, there were too many prohibitions in Ghost King Ridge, as if they were endless and completely restrained the Ghost King. Let's go. The transmission of Ghost King Ridge has begun. We just need to rush out of the black fog, and we can leave Ghost King Ridge. As Zhuan spoke, he rushed to the sky with Sam Mei and Tuo Sheng. There, the black fog lingered, blocking the light of transmission. Human, you have angered me. You can't escape today. The Ghost King's furious voice came from below. Then, The endless ghost chi of Ghost King Ridge gathered around the Ghost King and finally materialized into a huge black spear. The tip of the black spear and the body of the staff were in the shape of a black skull. Its empty eye sockets were bursting with scarlet light. When the ghost head spear comes out, all living beings will be plunged into misery and suffering. The Ghost King's cold voice came from below. Then he suddenly threw the ghost head spear. With a swoosh, the ghost head spear shot through the air and broke through the barrier of the formation. It rushed into the sky and chased after Zhuowen. The Ghost King was once again submerged by the endless array pattern ocean. With his powerful ghost chi, he was constantly resisting the power of the array pattern of the entire Ghost King Ridge. At this moment, Zhuowen and the other two were already extremely close to the end of the black fog. They could even see glimmers of light behind the black fog. The closer they got to the end of the black fog, the more impulsive the teleportation energy in their bodies became, as if they would be teleported away at any moment. The three of them were overjoyed. They knew that as long as they broke through the black fog, they would be able to leave the Ghost King Ridge. But soon, Zhuowen's expression changed. His divine sense had already discovered the rapidly approaching ghost head spear. Zhuowen abruptly stopped and turned around to face the ghost head spear that was flying straight towards him. His eyelids kept twitching, and his heart was covered by the shadow of death. Although he had not yet faced the ghost head spear, he could keenly sense that the ghost head spear was very terrifying and could tear him to pieces. It could be said that with his current strength, he was not strong enough to fight against the ghost head spear. But he had to face it, because the ghost head spear's aura had completely locked onto him. Tua Sheng and Sa Mei also discovered the ghost head spear below. Their expressions changed greatly, and they wanted to stop. But a powerful force pushed the two of them into the black fog. Then Zhuowen's voice sounded in their minds. "You go first. I'll be right behind you." The moment they were pushed into the black fog, they were enveloped by the teleportation light and left the Ghost King Ridge. "Boy, you're going to die. You're just a half-step ancient star transformation. If you can make me use my divine sense to deal with you, you can die with no regrets." Below the Ghost King Ridge, the Ghost King casually tore apart the entangling array pattern. His eyes fell on the figure in midair. He was very confident that his ghost head spear was enough to tear Zhuowen apart. Zhuowen took a deep breath. He knew that this was a moment of life and death. Naturally, he could not hold back. Zhuowen took out an irregular large seal from the Great Realm. This large seal was too ordinary. If it were not for the strange engravings on the bottom, most people would not even be able to tell that it was a large seal. And this large seal was the Grand Imperial Seal that Zhuowen had accidentally obtained from the Fallen Star Mountain. It was suspected to be a divine artifact that surpassed the heavens. It was very mysterious. Ever since he had obtained the Grand Imperial Seal, Zhuowen had been constantly studying this item. Although the results were minimal, he had figured out some tricks. Zhuowen injected his divine power into the Grand Imperial Seal. Suddenly, the Grand Imperial Seal was like a whale sucking in water, crazily absorbing Zhuowen's divine power. Zhuowen's face was pale, although he was now much stronger than when he was at the Fallen Star Mountain, and his divine power was also more vigorous. He still could not withstand the Grand Imperial Seal's crazy absorption. After absorbing the divine power, the Grand Imperial Seal suddenly emitted a mysterious starlight. Following this, the palm-sized Emperor Tai's seal rapidly expanded and turned into a small mountain over 10 zhang tall, emitting starlight. After such a long period of research, Zhuowen's only reward was to use his divine power to make the Grand Imperial Seal bigger. Moreover, with his current divine power, he could only make the Grand Imperial Seal into the shape of a small mountain. But this was enough. After all, the Grand Imperial Seal was not an ordinary item. Whoosh! The ghost head spear finally arrived and nailed itself onto the Grand Imperial Seal. Then, a scene that shocked Zhuowen and the Ghost King appeared. The Grand Imperial Seal did not move an inch, but the ghost head spear seemed to have suffered a heavy blow and dissipated into black mist. Zhuowen could no longer withstand the Grand Imperial Seal's crazy absorption. He immediately cut off the supply of divine power. With a pale face, he put the Grand Imperial Seal into his great realm. Without hesitation, he turned around and charged into the black mist and was teleported out of the Ghost King Ridge. In the Ghost King Ridge, the Ghost King stared blankly at this scene. He did not move and allowed the formation to tear his body apart. My ghost head spear was torn apart at the first touch. Where did that thing come from? The Ghost King stomped his foot and the ghost chi turned into a gust of wind, dispersing the formation around him. His scarlet eyes shone with a strange light. I have underestimated this human again. Interesting, very interesting. Zhuowen, right? I'm getting more and more interested in you. The Ghost King laughed and formed a seal with his hands. Instantly, the black mist in the Ghost King Ridge transformed into the gigantic Ghost King's body. These phantoms of the Ghost Kings gathered around the Ghost Kings and merged with the two Ghost Kings' bodies. The Ghost King's aura continued to increase, becoming more and more powerful and terrifying. If Zhuowen saw this scene, he would be dumbfounded. It turned out that the Ghost King's power that forced him to use the Grand Imperial Seal was not his full strength. Chapter 4073. Outside the Ghost King Ridge, Lu Renjue, the leader of the Huxley clan, looked gloomily at the quiet entrance of the Ghost King Ridge. The 1 month time limit was up. Logically speaking, everyone in the Ghost King Ridge should have been teleported out. Why was there no movement now? The situation was a bit abnormal. Lu Renjue, who was uneasy, couldn't help but look at the leaders of the three clans not far away. He found that they were not worried at all. Instead, they were calm, which made Lu Renjue feel that something was wrong. As time passed, the Ghost King Ridge was still terribly quiet. Even though Lu Renjue used the light of transmission several times, no one was teleported out. The people of the Huxley clan, who were waiting outside the Ghost King Ridge, also realized that something was wrong. They whispered to each other and looked quite serious. What's wrong with Fu Ming and the others? Why haven't they come out yet? Yuri, who thought that victory was in his hands, frowned slightly and had an ominous feeling in his heart. After Fu Ming and the other two handed the Divine Soul contract to the Ghost King, they had already sensed that Fu Ming and the other two had successfully completed the task. However, the Ghost King Ridge was an independent world, surrounded by dense and powerful restriction formations. The inner and outer worlds couldn't contact each other through the communication Jade Charm. Therefore, Yuri clan only knew that Fu Ming and the other two had successfully handed the Divine Soul contract to the Ghost King, but they didn't know what had happened inside. Seeing that Fu Ming and the other two hadn't come out yet, Yuri clan, Lung Yinyu clan, and Xiao Zihue clan were quite anxious. Suddenly, a huge roar came from the Ghost King Ridge, and then it shook violently, as if there was an unprecedented earthquake. Then, they found that several lights finally appeared at the entrance of the Ghost King Ridge. When the lights disappeared, Lu Renjue, King God Thunder, and the other experts of the Huxley clan, who had been waiting nervously, were relieved. Because the people who were teleported here by the lights were Lei Ling, Bing Yu, and the others. However, what surprised them was that Lei Ling and the others were in a mess. They were covered with wounds, and there was unconcealable exhaustion in their eyes. King God Thunder and the other 9 lords, led by King God Thunder, hurried to welcome them. Those who came back this time were basically the disciples of the 9 lords. Nephew Lei Ling, where is Zongtuo? The giant bear king could not help but ask with a frown when he noticed that there was no one in the crowd. Luke also scanned the group. When he didn't find Zhuowen and Sam Mei, he had a bad feeling. Lei Ling looked at Giant Bear King and smiled bitterly. Lord Giant Bear King, Zhong Tuo has already died in Ghost King Ridge. What? How could this be? With Tuo Ta's strength, as long as he did not go deep into the Ghost King Ridge, he would not have to worry about his life. He must have killed them. It was that Zhuowen who killed them, right? The Giant Bear King roared in grief and indignation. He glared viciously at Valurium King Luke, who had fallen behind him. He didn't even try to hide the murderous intent in his eyes. Luke was furious and said, "Giant Bear King, don't go too far. If you don't have any evidence, don't slander me. All right, stop arguing. What time is it now?" Why are you still arguing? Lu Renjue shouted coldly. Then, he looked at Lei Ling and continued. Lei Ling, what happened in the Ghost King Ridge? Now that the deadline is up, why are you the only ones who have come out? Lu Renjue was frustrated. According to past experience, all the practitioners in the Ghost King Ridge should have been teleported out at this time. But now, there were only a few people in front of him. Lu Renjue felt that something was wrong. The rest of them are dead. They were all killed by Fu Ming, Jian Wuqing, and Lung Fei Fei. The three of them entered the Ghost King Ridge with evil intentions. They wanted to kill all of Huxley's people who entered the Ghost King Ridge. Lei Ling said angrily. Lei Ling was furious. Everyone was shocked. Lei Ling's news was too shocking. If Junior Brother Zhua hadn't saved us, we would have died. Speaking of which, Junior Brother Zhua, Sa Mei, and Tua Sheng haven't come back yet. Bing Yu, who had been silent for a long time, also spoke. His tone was perfect, and he didn't hide his gratitude to Zhuowen. They haven't come out yet, Lu Renjue replied gloomily. After saying that, he looked coldly at Yuri, Lung Yinyu, and Xiao Zihui, who were not far away. He really didn't expect the three big clans to be so vicious. Huxley had made a big concession and allowed their juniors to enter the Ghost King Ridge. But the three big clans slaughtered Huxley's young geniuses without any scruples. They wanted to cut off the inheritance of Huxley. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the Ghost King Ridge shook violently again. Everyone outside the Ghost King Ridge could deeply feel the horror of the tremors. What happened in the Ghost King Ridge? Lu Renjue asked gloomily. However, what he saw was the pale faces of Lei Ling and the others. This made Lu Renjue's heart skip a beat. He hurriedly asked them. The answer he got was like a heavy blow to Lu Renjue, and he froze on the spot. The Ghost King had broken out of the seal. At this moment, it was wantonly destroying the interior of the Ghost King Ridge. The three great guardians, Huxley, and the 9 lords were all shocked by the answer. They couldn't believe it. For countless years, the Ghost King had been suppressed in the Ghost King Ridge. Nothing had ever happened to it, and the seal had been strengthened frequently. Why did the Ghost King break out of the seal at this time? Yuri, Lung Yinyu, Xiao Zihui, look at what you've done. Lu Renjue roared angrily and rushed towards the 3 godly ships that the 3 big clans were on. After hearing the news, he immediately thought of the 3 big clans. He knew very well that the Ghost King must have broken out of the seal because of Fu Ming and the other 2. Otherwise, no matter how powerful the Ghost King was, it couldn't have broken the seal alone. Yuri and the other 2 narrowed their eyes and looked coldly at Lu Renjue, who had almost lost his mind. A faint smile appeared on their lips. Boom! Yuri took a step forward and punched out with his right hand like a knife, fiercely colliding with Lu Renjue. A thunderous sound rang out, and then Yuri and Lu Renjue both retreated dozens of steps. In the void, there was a continuous sound of explosions, and the surrounding space seemed to be stirred up by the terrifying energy. Countless fish scale-like cracks appeared in the void. Everyone sucked in a breath and retreated a distance. The collision of 2 peak ancient star transformation realm experts was too terrifying. If they were too close, they wouldn't be able to survive. Patriarch Lu, what do you mean by this? Do you want to start a domain war? Yuri waved his sleeve and snorted. Chapter 4074. Lu Renjue's voice wasn't soft, and everyone present heard him clearly. Most of the experts from Huxley didn't know the details, so when Lu Renjue and Yuri attacked, they were worried for them. Now that Lu Renjue had told them the truth, their anger was completely ignited. They had killed Huxley's talented disciples and released the Ghost King. They had gone too far. Moreover, many of the experts' disciples had entered the Ghost King Ridge. Now that they knew that their disciples hadn't died and that they had been killed by Fu Ming and the others, they were furious. In an instant, the experts of the Hushu clan surrounded the people of the other 3 clans with tacit understanding. Yuri didn't panic. He smiled faintly and said, Leader Lu, the Ghost King Ridge is a dangerous place. It's normal for people to die. Just because a few of your disciples died, you blamed everything on our disciples. I have to say, your Huxley as the clan is really narrow-minded. Lu Renjue's eyes were red with anger. This Yuri was simply twisting the truth and blaming Huxley for being narrow-minded. It was too disgusting. Lung Yinyu and Xiao Zihue flew out of the divine ship and appeared beside Lu Renjue, looking at him with hostility. The leaders of the three clans all released terrifying auras to suppress Lu Renjue. At the same time, figures with powerful auras flew out of the divine ship of the three clans. They were all experts at the ancient star transformation realm. Lu Renjue's expression changed slightly. Looking at the figures with powerful auras, he realized that the three clans had come prepared. They had actually sent out all their elites. Huxley's leader, the three protectors, and the 9 Huxley kings only had 13 experts of the ancient star transformation realm or above. The three clans weren't much weaker than Huxley. This time, they had sent out 50 to 60 ancient star transformation realm experts. The difference in strength between the two was too obvious, even though Huxley had the geographical advantage. However, if they really went all out against the three great clans, both sides would definitely suffer great losses. Lu Renjue raised his right hand, indicating for the surrounding people to retreat first. Chief Yu, don't forget that you're still in Huxley's territory. When your disciples come out, I'll personally confront them. Today, you three clans must give me, Huxley, an explanation. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving Huxley. Lu Renjue coldly snorted and brought everyone to the other side of the Ghost King Ridge. However, he did not let down his guard, and instead used his divine sense to contact Lu Yuanba in the dark. At the same time, Lu Renjue had also sent out an urgent notice to summon all of Huxley's God Formation Masters to the Ghost King Ridge in order to strengthen the Ghost King Ridge's restrictions. Yuri and the other two furrowed their brows, not daring to act rashly. This was because they felt a faint divine sense land on them. This divine sense was too strong. Although it was weak, the unique aura of a superior made Yuri and the others' hair stand on end. They immediately thought of the Realm Protector. However, Yuri was not worried. They knew that they had already succeeded in the Ghost King Ridge, which meant that they had a 70% chance of success. As long as nothing unexpected happened, their plan would succeed. Suddenly, 2 rays of light appeared at the entrance of the Ghost King Ridge, and a man and woman appeared. Same, Tasheng. When Luke and the Imperial Dragon King saw the man and woman, they were pleasantly surprised. They hurriedly rushed over and asked about their well-being. Lu Renjue's expression also became slightly better, but his heart was still heavy, because he had not seen the person he wanted to see the most, which was Zhuowen. Zhuowen was the person he looked forward to the most in the younger generation. He also thought that Huxley's most powerful rising genius. He did not want such a genius to fall in the Ghost King Ridge. Same, where is Zhuowen? When Luke did not see Zhuowen, his heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly asked. Same sobbed, Master, in order to help us leave the Ghost King Ridge, senior brother Zhuo faced the Ghost King himself at the last moment. Tasheng's face was also full of disappointment, and his heart was full of guilt. What? Faced the Ghost King? Luke was shocked. Although he knew that Zhuowen was very powerful, he did not think that Zhuowen could contend with the Ghost King. That was a terrifying expert of the great carefree realm. No matter how strong Zhuowen was, how could he be the opponent of such an expert? Especially now, the dense and terrifying movements coming from the Ghost King Ridge showed how powerful the Ghost King was. Lu Renjue sighed deeply. The junior he valued the most could not escape the fate of falling in the end. At the same time, many of Huxley's formation masters had gathered outside the Ghost King Ridge. They quickly set up seals and began to strengthen the prohibition of the Ghost King Ridge. Although the Ghost King had broken the seal, the prohibition in the Ghost King Ridge had been accumulated for countless years. Lu Renjue was not worried that the Ghost King could easily leave the Ghost King Ridge. Yuri, Lung Yinyu, and Xiao Zihue felt that something was wrong. Huxley's disciples had already come out in 2 batches. Why was there no movement from Fu Ming and the other 2? Patriarchy, what should we do now? If we let them strengthen the prohibition of the Ghost King Ridge, the Ghost King won't be able to come out for a while. And now is not the time for our domain guardian to make a move. Long Yinyu secretly transmitted a message to Yuri. The Ghost King must come out. If Huxley's domain guardian makes a move, we can only use that thing. Let's do it. After Yuri secretly transmitted this message, he led the elite experts of the Jinshui clan and rushed towards the Ghost King Ridge with a murderous aura. Patriarch Liu, my disciple Fu Ming hasn't come out yet, and you want to seal the Ghost King Ridge. You're too much. You're deliberately trying to strangle the geniuses of our 3 clans. Yuri said righteously, and led the crowd to launch a strong attack on the formation masters who were strengthening the prohibition. Not good. Lu Renjue's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect Yuri to be so shameless as to attack the formation masters. Lu Renjue had no choice but to lead the 3 great guardians and Hushu and 9 kings to block Yuri's group. Boom, boom, boom. However, Lu Renjue's group had fewer people after all. They could only block Yuri's group. As for the clan elites brought by Long Yinyu and Xiao Zihui, they couldn't stop them at all. They could only watch as the attacks of these 2 groups landed on the group of formation masters. Cries of agony could be heard continuously. 30% of the formation masters were killed on the spot, while the rest of the formation masters were either severely injured or lightly injured. Xiao Zihui and Long Yinyu didn't show any mercy. They continued to launch fierce attacks on the remaining formation masters. Chapter 4075. Jinshui Clan, Purple Mirage, and God's Eye, don't you think you've gone too far? How dare you cause trouble in Huxley? Do you really think that I don't exist? A figure floated out from the depths of Huxley City. It looked like it was floating slowly, but it was actually extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Ghost King Ridge. Only then did everyone see that this figure was a white-haired old man. However, his eyes were very bright, like stars. Ancestor. The moment Huxley and the others saw this old man, they all revealed excited expressions. The 3 great clans were shocked and looked at the old man in front of them with fear. They also recognized the old man's identity. It was the Huxley Realm Guardian, Lu Yuanba. What are you waiting for? Take out that thing. Yuri's eyes hardened as he took out a transparent bead from his spirit ring. The inside of the transparent bead was a field of chaos. Xiao Zihui and Long Yinyu also took out similar transparent beads. Lu Yuanba, who had been strolling leisurely, changed his expression the moment he saw the transparent beads in their hands. Universal World Projection Beads. Lu Yuanba shouted in shock and anger. Yuri and the others sneered and took out the transparent beads in their hands. In an instant, the silhouettes of 3 worlds appeared in the sky. These 3 world shadows were filled with terrifying calamities, including wind, fire, and thunder. What was even more terrifying was that in each world, there was a gigantic figure that reached the heavens and the earth. These 3 figures were too imposing, and the aura they exuded was even more terrifying. Lu Yuanba, long time no see. You, a realm guardian, actually attacked a junior of the Jinshui clan. You've gone too far. The huge shadow above Yuri's head said sarcastically, "We kindly send our juniors to your clan, and this is how you treat your guests. How rude." The Purple Mirage Realm Guardian's shadow also sneered. Lu Yuanba's face was gloomy. He didn't expect the 3 great clans to come prepared. They actually brought the universal world projection beads of their respective realm guardians. The so-called universal world projection beads, in fact, were condensed from a portion of the power of a great carefree realm expert's universal world. Generally speaking, the power of the universal world projection bead was only 30% of the body's power. But this was still very terrifying, enough to get rid of all the experts below the great carefree realm. Lu Yuanba, it was your Hushu clan that was in the wrong first. Our actions are not against the rules of the realm. After the God's Eye Realm Guardian finished speaking, the huge shadow of a world descended from the sky, rumbling toward Lu Yuanba. His huge shadow, following the shadow of the world, strode forward and unceremoniously attacked Lu Yuanba. The shadows of the Jinshui clan and the Purple Mirage Realm Guardians also moved, surrounding Lu Yuanba in a triangular formation. Psycho Hongfei, Zhu Yangqi, Ling Xinghai, if the three of you had come here in your true form, I would still be a little wary. But if it's just your projections, I don't care. Lu Yuanba coldly snorted, his body moving without wind, and swept high into the sky. In the void behind him, an incomparably huge world appeared. This was the universal world formed by the universal tribulation, the first stage of the great carefree realm. The only difference was that Lu Yuanba's universal world was much more solid than the universal world of the three shadows, as if it was a real world. In his world, there were all kinds of terrifying tribulations, and he was like the master of this world. All the tribulations had become his sharpest weapon, under his control. But Yuri and the others smiled. They knew that the shadow of the three realm guardians was not Lu Yuanba. But their goal was not to defeat Lu Yuanba, but to delay Lu Yuanba. Boom! Boom! Lu Yuanba shot out like a bolt of lightning. Boundless great calamity of heaven and earth descended from the sky and blasted on the three phantoms. The three shadows were not to be outdone. They rushed into the sky and engaged in a fierce battle with Lu Yuanba. Waves of universal tribulation energy surged, and the surrounding people did not dare to casually approach this battle group. And without Lu Yuanba's obstruction, the elite experts of the Purple Mirage and God's Eye, under the leadership of Xiao Zihui and Lung Yanyu, began to wantonly slaughter the formation masters around the Ghost King Ridge. And although the rest of Huxley's experts desperately tried to stop them, the difference between the two sides was too great, and they were basically killed by the experts of the two clans. Corpses fell one after another, and blood flowed endlessly, converging into a blood-red stream in front of the Ghost King Ridge. Lu Renjua looked at Huxley's clansmen dying in front of his eyes. He was furious and began to fight Yuri with all his might. He wanted to go over and save his clansmen. Unfortunately, Yuri only sneered. He was like a sticky candy, clinging to Lu Renjua, and did not give him the slightest chance to escape. No, how had things come to this? Lei Ling, Sam Mei, Bing Yu, and a group of juniors hid in a corner, trembling in fear as they watched the cruel massacre in front of them. They were only the new generation of Huxley's clansmen. Although they had experienced many battles, they had never experienced such a cruel massacre. Moreover, the three clans had basically sent out experts above the ancient star transformation. They were too weak and would be nothing more than cannon fodder if they went up. Attack the Ghost King Ridge and forcibly break the restriction on the surface of the ridge. Yuri quickly transmitted a message to Xiao Zihui and Lung Yanyu, and the two of them naturally understood. After slaughtering all of Huxley's array godmasters, Xiao Zihui and Lung Yanyu led the group and began to attack the restriction on the surface of the Ghost King Ridge. Originally, the Ghost King Ridge was already on the verge of collapse due to the internal attacks of the Ghost King. Now, it was being attacked by the Purple Mirage, God's Eye, and many other ancient star transformation experts. Under such a pincer attack, the restriction on the surface of the Ghost King Ridge began to crack, and a crisp cracking sound could be heard. Not good. The restriction on the Ghost King Ridge is about to be broken. Lu Renjua was shocked, but he was still being held down by Yuri and could not escape at all. Lu Yuanba also noticed the situation and was shocked and angry. He suddenly shouted and used his tricolored catastrophe sword. In his Qian Kuan world, three extremely powerful catastrophe energy were casually gathered by him and formed into a tricolored divine sword. Crackle! The surface of the tricolored catastrophe sword flashed with a trace of intense, terrifying energy ripples, and a sharp and terrifying aura. Die! Lu Yuanba shouted as the tricolored catastrophe sword in his hand formed, and it split into 3 sword lights, shooting into the 3 world shadows. The tricolored catastrophe sword's power was indeed terrifying, and the 3 world shadows did not last long before they all collapsed. Chapter 4076. Ha ha! After being trapped for countless years, this king has finally broken free. Accompanied by the terrifying ghost Shi was an extremely savage laughter. At this moment, everyone in Huxley was ashen. They knew that the Ghost King had successfully broken free. Yuri, look at what you've done. You should know how terrifying the Ghost King is. After he comes out, not only will our Huxley suffer, your Jinshui clan will also face a great calamity. Lu Rinjue was trembling with anger. He attacked Yuri while cursing loudly. Yuri sneered and said, Patriarch Lu, have you not seen the situation clearly? We deliberately let the Ghost King out. Before we let him out, did you think we didn't have a backup plan? Don't worry, the Ghost King won't do anything to our Jinshui clan. He will only bite your Huxley. Bastard. Lu Rinjue flew into a rage and launched a fierce attack on Yuri without any regard for his life. The pressure on Yuri increased greatly, but his strength was not inferior to Lu Rinjue's, so he was able to deal with it. Boom, boom, boom. Savage laughter continuously resounded in the sky above the Ghost King Ridge. Then, a large hand reached out from the Ghost King Ridge and tore apart the few remaining restrictions on the surface of the Ghost King Ridge. Then, another large hand reached out. 2 mountain-like arms supported themselves on the ground and suddenly exerted force. The earth burst open. Accompanied by rolling tremors, the Ghost King's enormous body finally emerged from the nearly shattered Ghost King Ridge. Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu had already retreated a distance with the Purple Mirage and God's Eye clansmen. Although the Ghost King had signed a soul contract with the 3 great clans, he could not attack them. But if they were careless and were struck by the energy shock waves created by the Ghost King, they could not blame the Ghost King for their deaths. The 3 great clans are too despicable. In order to deal with us, Huxley, they actually released the Ghost King. How despicable. Lei Ling scolded the 3 big clans, Fu Ming, and the rest. Although Zhuoan did not tell them the truth at Ghost King Ridge. However, they were not stupid. Naturally, they thought that the Ghost King breaking the seal must have something to do with Fu Ming and the other 2. Bang! Seeing that the Ghost King had come out, Yuri didn't want to waste any more time with Lu Rinjue. After taking a palm strike from Lu Rinjue, he calmly retreated to the side of Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu. Seeing that Yuri had retreated, the elite experts of the Jinshui clan also knew when to stop and left the battle. Huxley's 3 enforcers and 9 kings didn't chase after them. After all, they were outnumbered. Wouldn't it be suicide if they chased after them? The Ghost King's huge body stood on the ruins of Ghost King Ridge. His scarlet eyes scanned the surroundings and then landed on Lu Yuanba, who was in the air. It seems that you're the strongest person in Huxley now. You have passed the great tribulation of heaven and earth and formed your own unique Qiankuan world. The Ghost King's eyes darted around as he spoke calmly. Lu Yuanba was silent. He stared at the Ghost King. The Qiankuan world and the void behind him accumulated countless terrifying tribulations, ready to launch a thunderous attack on the Ghost King at any time. It was no wonder that Lu Yuanba was so cautious. The Ghost King's reputation was too great. Back when Lu Yuanba was just an insignificant cultivator, the Ghost King had already been suppressed in Ghost King Ridge. The Ghost King's history was too long. He was simply an immortal old monster. Even though Lu Yuanba knew that the Ghost King's strength was the same as his, also in the great tribulation of heaven and earth. However, he still had a deep fear of the Ghost King. Ghost King, what do you want? Lu Yuanba took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice. The Ghost King smiled, his eyes emitting a strange cold light. My request is very simple. Kill all of Huxley's people. The faces of all of Huxley's people present turned ugly. The Ghost King's appetite was really big. He actually wanted to destroy Huxley. Senior Ghost King, our 3 great clans will do our best to help you destroy Huxley. Yuri was smug as he hurriedly echoed the Ghost King's words. Liu Yuanba's face turned very ugly. The Ghost King and the elite experts of the 3 great clans. Huxley was really doomed this time. The Ghost King glanced coldly at Yuri and the others and said indifferently, "It's natural for you to help me. After all, it's written clearly in the soul contract." Yuri was furious. The Ghost King's attitude made him very unhappy, but he didn't dare to say anything. Senior Ghost King, our disciples should have come into contact with you in the Ghost King Ridge. I wonder if you know the whereabouts of the 3 of them? Suddenly, Lung Yinyu cupped his hands and asked the Ghost King. Yuan Lai and Xiao Zihui also immediately pricked up their ears, although their 3 clans' plan had succeeded. There was still no news of Fu Ming and the other 2. They looked calm on the surface, but they were actually very anxious. After all, Fu Ming, Jian Wuqing, and Lung Fei were the top geniuses of their 3 great clans and their personal disciples. In order to nurture Fu Ming and the other 2, Yuri and the other 2 had spent a lot of effort. In the future, they would even pass on their mantle to them and let them take charge of such a large domain. The Ghost King said casually, "How would I know their whereabouts? Maybe they have already died in the Ghost King Ridge." "What? You kill my disciples?" Xiao Zihui said in shock and anger. "Human, watch your words. Did I say that I killed them?" The Ghost King said in an unfriendly tone. "Senior Ghost King, please forgive me. My companion is not very good with words." He was also confused because he was concerned. "We know the strength of our disciples the best. In the Ghost King Ridge, there shouldn't be anyone who can kill the 3 of them, right?" Yuri hurriedly tried to smooth things over, but he also vaguely expressed that he didn't really believe the Ghost King's words. It was impossible for the Huxley geniuses who had entered the Ghost King Ridge to be a match for Fu Ming and the other 2. In their opinion, if Fu Ming and the other 2 were really dead, only the Ghost King could kill them. The Ghost King was so shrewd that he naturally understood the meaning behind Yuri's words. "Haha, you all underestimate Huxley. There really is a top genius among Huxley's juniors. He killed your disciples like slaughtering dogs. This boy even destroyed one of my incarnations." The Ghost King sneered. Yuri and the other 2 were finally shocked. They didn't expect that there was such a hidden figure among Huxley's younger generation. The Ghost King was a supreme master of the great carefree realm. His incarnation was at least at the ancient star transformation realm. And this Huxley's Jr. that the Ghost King mentioned was actually able to destroy the Ghost King's incarnation. It was really incredible. "Senior Ghost King, you mean that our disciples were killed by this person? Who is he?" Yuri said in a low voice. "Haha, I remember that his name is Zhuowen," the Ghost King said lightly. Zhuowen?" Yuri and the others were dumbfounded. They had a better understanding of Huxley's geniuses. They were familiar with Lei Ling, Bing Yu, and the other disciples of the 9 Kings. But who the hell was this Zhuowen? This was the first time they had heard of him. As for whether he killed your disciples or not, you should ask him. The Ghost King revealed a sinister smile, and then his right hand suddenly pointed at a ruin in the north of the Ghost King Ridge. A burst of black chi shot out explosively, sweeping towards the inconspicuous corner of the ruins. Chapter 4077. When everyone's eyes fell on the figure, they realized that it was a black-clothed young man. "It's Zhuowen." Lu Renjue smiled happily. He had always thought highly of Zhuowen and saw him as a genius who could revive Huxley. Naturally, he didn't want a genius like Zhuowen to die. "Great, senior brother Zhua is still alive." Sa Ame was overjoyed. Lei Ling, Tu Ah Sheng, and the other young geniuses of Ghost King Ridge also smiled. Their lives were saved by Zhuowen. If Zhuowen died in Ghost King Ridge because of them, they would feel guilty. "Zhuowen, you are the most cunning human I have ever seen. After leaving Ghost King Ridge, you didn't show yourself. Instead, You hid secretly. I have to say that you are very smart. Unfortunately, I still found you." The Ghost King looked at Zhuan proudly and said in a sinister voice. Zhuan's face was very ugly. Just as the Ghost King said, he came out not long after Sa Mei and Tuo Shang. However, as soon as he appeared, he activated the concealment disc array, perfectly hiding his figure and aura. He had been observing from outside. Especially after the Ghost King appeared, he didn't dare to show himself. His plan was very simple. When the Ghost King and Lu Yuanba were busy fighting, he would quickly leave this place and go to the Medicine God Pavilion to get the limitless longevity elixir. Then, he would immediately leave Hushu City. He never intended to get involved in the muddy waters between Huxley, the Ghost King, and the three big clans. "Are you Zhuan? Where is my disciple now?" Yuri looked coldly at Zhuan and asked, "Who are you? Why are you looking for me when your disciple is missing?" Zhuan was in a bad mood. He didn't want to talk to Yuri at all. "You are looking for death." Yuri was furious. Without saying anything, he attacked Zhuan with his palm. However, Yuri's attack was blocked by Lu Renjue. Yuri, how shameless are you? You're the head of the Jinshui clan, yet you dare to attack a junior? Lu Renjue said coldly. Yuri glared at Zhuan and said, "Humph. In any case, your Huxley is going to be finished soon. I won't bicker with a piece of trash like you. After I kill Lu Renjue, I'll deal with you properly." "Do it. Kill everyone in Huxley." Yuri shouted and summoned his natal star, charging towards Lu Renjue. Meanwhile, the elites of the Jinshui clan, led by Yuri, began a frenzied slaughter. Xiao Zihui and Lung Yanyu led Purple Mirage and God's Eyes ancient star transformation experts to join the battle. Xiao Zihui and Lung Yanyu joined forces with Yuri and launched a fierce attack on Lu Renjue. In an instant, Lu Renjue was at a disadvantage. He was in an extremely passive position. The three enforcers of Huxley and the 9 kings of Huxley were also in a difficult battle. After all, they had far fewer ancient star transformation experts than the other 3 clans. Even though Huxley had more people, those below the ancient star transformation level were nothing more than cannon fodder. Fortunately, Lu Renjue had already activated the various formations within Huxley City. With the support of these formations, Lu Renjue and the others could still hold on. Zhuan, Lei Ling, take Bingyu, Tuo Shang, and the other juniors and leave Huxley City. You're the hope of Huxley City. You cannot die. Lu Renjue's voice appeared in Zhuan and Lei Ling's minds, telling them to leave Huxley City as soon as possible. Other than Zhuan, Lei Ling and the other juniors were filled with sorrow. They were not stupid and knew that Lu Renjue's method was the best way. They knelt on the ground and bowed to their respective masters from afar. Then, they fled towards the exit of Huxley City. "Junior Zhua, there's a space-time corridor in the depths of the Absolute God Pavilion. The clan leader prepared it for us. Hurry up and leave with us." Lei Ling saw that Zhuan had no intention of leaving and hurriedly transmitted a message to Zhuan. "Lei Ling, give me the method to activate the space-time corridor. I still have some matters to attend to. I will meet up with you later." Zhuan's eyes flashed as he replied to Lei Ling. Lei Ling was stunned. Now that the situation was urgent, he did not think too much. He passed a jade slip to Zhuan and quickly left with Bingyu and the others. However, Sa Mei and Tuo Shang stayed behind. "Junior Zhua, my life was saved by you. In this moment of life and death, I will go wherever you go," Tuo Shang said seriously. Although Sa Mei did not say anything, her eyes shone with a determined light, showing her determination to stay. Zhuan felt a headache coming on. He knew that the two of them had misunderstood his intentions. He did not stay because of Huxley. The main reason was that he had not obtained the limitless longevity elixir yet. However, looking at the shocking battle in the distance, Huxley had sent more and more cultivators to participate in the battle. At such a dangerous time, he could not leave Sa Mei and Tuo Shang behind. "Both of you, please excuse me." Zhuan suddenly attacked and knocked out the two of them. After sending them into the great world, He took a deep look at Lu Renjue and the others who were fighting bitterly. He did not go to help. Instead, he rushed out and headed towards the Medicine Divine Pavilion. Kakik, Zhuowen, don't think that you can leave so easily. The Ghost King let out a sinister laugh, and its huge palm suddenly grabbed at Zhuowen. He had been paying attention to Zhuowen all this time. Seeing that Zhuowen was about to leave, he naturally would not let him go so easily. Oomph. Ghost King, don't you dare touch my people. The moment the Ghost King attacked Zhuowen, Lu Yuanba also attacked. He stomped his right foot, and a terrifying tribulation power turned into a sword, piercing through the Ghost King's right hand. Lu Yuanba descended from the sky, bringing with him the shadow of a huge Qiankuan world. He was like a god or a demon, unstoppable. The Ghost King was furious. He knew that with Lu Yuanba blocking his way, there was nothing he could do to Zhuowen. After all, Lu Yuanba could be said to be an elite of the Qiankuan Great Tribulation. Although he was not necessarily stronger than the Ghost King, he was still an extremely difficult opponent. The Ghost King did not dare to be distracted. Boom, boom, boom. The two supreme experts of the Great Carefree Realm finally began their first official battle. The experts of the Great Carefree Realm were too terrifying. The aftermath of their battle continued to spread. The space of the 100th level of Hushu City began to collapse gradually, forming black hole-like nothingness. As the battle between the two became more and more terrifying, the entire Hushu City began to be affected. The space of each level of Hushu City was independent, but now they were all affected and began to collapse gradually. Chapter 4078. This space, unable to withstand the battle between the two experts of the Great Carefree Realm, began to shatter into pieces. Zhuowen was shocked. The experts of the Great Carefree Realm were so powerful. Just the aftermath of the collision was like the power of the heavens, which made people tremble with fear. The four of you split into two groups and chase after Zhuowen and Lei Ling. Be sure to kill them all. Yuri naturally noticed the fleeing Lei Ling, Zhuowen, and the others. He immediately ordered the four experts of the Ancient Star Transformation Realm. The four experts nodded silently, and then quickly withdrew from the battle. Two of them chased after Zhuowen, and the other two chased after Lei Ling, Lu Renjue, and the others naturally noticed the four experts sent by Yuri. Their faces changed greatly, knowing that these four people should be chasing after Zhuowen and Lei Ling. Unfortunately, they were powerless. Under the siege of the elite experts of the three clans, they could barely protect themselves. It was impossible for them to free themselves to stop the four experts. Zhuowen, Lei Ling, you must escape. Lu Renjue prayed in his heart as he fought the three clan leaders with all his strength. He was very clearly aware that after this battle, it was very likely that the Hushu clan would be wiped out from the 100 territories, whereas Zhuowen, Lei Ling, and the other juniors had become the hope of the Hushu clan to make a comeback in the future. Whoosh! While the battle in the Ghost King Ridge was in full swing, a streamer quickly arrived at the Medicine Divine Pavilion. At this moment, the mountains surrounding the Medicine Divine Pavilion were still shattered into countless pieces of gravel. However, because the Medicine Divine Pavilion was protected by a large formation, it was not damaged much and still stood in the middle of the gravel. The Medicine Divine Pavilion had long been deserted. The guards and pharmacists here had already received the news and fled for their lives. Zhuowen silently looked at the Medicine Divine Pavilion, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Huxley had reached the end of his road. The Medicine God's Pavilion was Huxley's most precious treasure. There were many precious elixirs stored inside. They were the result of Huxley's countless years of accumulation. Taking advantage of the chaos, Zhuowen knew that he had a chance to take over the entire Medicine Divine Pavilion. Zhuowen had always been a decisive person. Once he made a decision, he would not hesitate. Thus, his hands reached out into the void, and his 10 fingers moved together, forming a series of complicated hand seals. Not long after, The huge medicine divine pavilion shrunk to the size of a palm under the influence of the runes and fell into Zhuan's palm. As if sensing something, Zhuan abruptly raised his head and looked behind him. In the sky behind him, two streaks of flowing light were rapidly flying towards him. Their momentum was menacing and murderous. With a flip of his right hand, Zhuan stored the medicine divine pavilion into his parallel world. He looked coldly at the two figures who had landed in front of him. One of them was a white-haired old man, and the other was a skinny middle-aged man. Zhuan had some impression of these two. They seemed to be ancient star transformation realm cultivators from the three great clans. From their auras, he could tell that they were both at the early stage of the ancient star transformation realm. He's just a half-step ancient star transformation realm at. The clan leader has sent the two of us to chase after this piece of trash. He really thinks too highly of him. When the skinny middle-aged man saw that Zhuan was alone, he could not help but frown. The white-haired old man looked around, then looked at Zhuan and asked in a low voice, "This should be where the medicine divine pavilion is, right? Did you take the medicine divine pavilion?" "Oh, you must be talking about this, right?" Zhuan's lips curled into a sinister smile. He opened his right hand, and the palm-sized medicine divine pavilion appeared in his palm. The skinny middle-aged man and the white-haired old man immediately revealed greedy expressions. They knew how valuable the medicine divine pavilion was. It was an important place that stored all the divine medicines of the entire clan. There were so many divine medicines that it could provide for the entire clan. "Brat, hand the medicine divine pavilion to us, and we can be merciful and let you take your own life," the skinny middle-aged man said sinisterly. "Hand over the medicine divine pavilion? Take my own life?" Zhuan had a strange look in his eyes. He then shook his head with a cold smile and said, "You think you're worthy?" The skinny middle-aged man was furious. This brat was too arrogant. He was just a half-step ancient star transformation realm cultivator, and yet he dared to be so arrogant. "Brat, I wanted you to take your own life so that you can die a quick death. Unfortunately, you don't know what's good for you. Since that's the case, I'll slowly play you to death and make you wish you were dead." As he spoke, the skinny middle-aged man attacked. He only casually threw out a palm strike. A huge amount of energy condensed in the air, forming a huge palm of energy. He didn't even release his natal star because the young man in front of him was too weak. He didn't even need to use his full strength. The white-haired old man crossed his arms and looked at the scene coldly. A mocking smile appeared on his face. He also didn't think much of Zhuan. Therefore, after the skinny middle-aged man attacked, he stood aside and watched the show. "You're the one who's courting death." Zhuan shook his head and waved his sleeve. Before the skinny middle-aged man's palm of energy could land, it collapsed. At the same time, Zhuan's right hand formed two fingers into a sword and pointed at the air. A purplish-gold energy rushed out from the tip of his finger and turned into a purplish-gold beam of light that shot toward the skinny middle-aged man's forehead. The skinny middle-aged man was shocked. He didn't expect that his attack would be so easily neutralized by Zhuan. Was this something that an ordinary half-step ancient star transformation realm cultivator could do? Not good. The skinny middle-aged man's face completely changed when he felt the terrifying aura of the purplish gold energy. He didn't even think about it and took out his natal star to block in front of him. Bang! The purplish gold energy landed on the natal star, and then, under the skinny middle-aged man's shocked gaze, the energy pierced through his natal star and into his forehead. How is this possible? My life solitary star actually couldn't block one move from you. The skinny middle-aged man let out an unwilling roar. The natal star in front of him dissipated, and he collapsed to the ground. His soul was destroyed, and his aura was cut off. Zhuan's expression was calm. The skinny middle-aged man in front of him was even weaker than Luke. Back then, he was able to defeat Luke when he was only in the middle stage of the Fiend God transformation realm. Now that he was a half-step ancient star transformation realm cultivator, his strength was comparable to a peak ancient star transformation realm cultivator. It was not difficult for him to kill the skinny middle-aged man who was weaker than Luke in one move. Run! When the white-haired old man saw this scene, he was so scared that he wet his pants and scrambled to escape into the distance. Zhuan looked coldly at the back of the white-haired old man. He raised his hand again and pointed at the air. A purplish gold energy shot out again and pierced through the back of the old man's head in the blink of an eye. The white-haired old man didn't even have time to scream before he fell to the ground and stopped breathing. After dealing with these two people, Zhuan was neither sad nor happy. He used his movement technique and rushed toward the Supreme Temple. Hushu City was too dangerous. He had to leave this place as soon as possible, especially when he felt the space around him crumbling faster and faster. His determination to leave grew stronger. Chapter 4079. Outside of Supreme Divine Hall, Lei Ling, Bingyu, and a few others were in a tough battle. They were covered in injuries and looked miserable. Their opponents were two black-robed elders. The two black-robed elders flashed around Lei Ling and the others like a gust of wind, appearing and disappearing unpredictably like ghosts. Every time they flashed, they would be able to unleash an extremely terrifying attack, causing Lei Ling, Bingyu, and the rest to be exhausted. The injuries on their bodies also increased. Lei Ling and Bingyu were the strongest among them, so they were the main targets of the two elders. Therefore, their injuries were the most severe. Zhuan recognized at a glance that the two black-robed elders were the same as the two who were chasing after him. They were ancient star transformation experts from the three big clans. Moreover, he could tell that the two elders were obviously toying with Lei Ling and the others. After all, the two ancient star transformation experts had joined forces. Even if Lei Ling, Bingyu, and the others joined forces, they would not be a match for them. Junior Zhua, Lei Ling, and the others noticed Zhuan, who had suddenly appeared, and could not help but shout in surprise. They were really happy from the bottom of their hearts. Zhuan's powerful performance in Ghost King Ridge was still deeply imprinted in their minds. In their eyes, although Zhuan's cultivation was not very high, his strength was definitely above ancient star transformation. What's going on? Isn't this guy the target of Long Yao and Zhuan? When the two black-robed elders saw Zhuan, they could not help but be surprised. Long Yao and Zhuan, who the two black-robed elders were talking about, were the two who were chasing after Zhuan. Obviously, in the two elders' hearts, Zhuan should be a dead man at that moment. However, he had appeared in front of them at that moment. Just as the two black-robed elders were confused and deep in thought, Zhuan had already moved. He was like an indomitable god. Surging violet gold energy surged from his body, and then he shot out at an extremely fast speed. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Zhuan appeared before the two black-robed old men. After that, he raised his right hand and formed two fingers into the shape of a sword before suddenly pointing it towards one of the black-robed old men. Junior brother Zhua, you have to be careful. The two of them are experts in the combo attack technique, and their coordination is very good. Lei Ling hurriedly reminded. Hee. Your reminder came a little too late. This brat really didn't know what was good for him. He actually rushed up to court death like this. Then we will fulfill your wish. The two black-robed old men laughed strangely. Then, the two of them suddenly separated. One of the black-robed old men charged toward Zhuan, his right hand clenched into a fist to meet Zhuan's attack. At the same time, another black-robed old man turned into a shadow and unknowingly appeared behind Zhuan. His right hand formed a claw and grabbed at Zhuan's Tianling acupoint. At this moment, Zhuan was being pincered by the two black-robed elders. There was no way he could escape. Junior brother Zhua is too reckless. He shouldn't have gone up alone. He should have joined forces with us to fight against the enemy. Bingyu's face changed drastically. Although he acknowledged that Zhuan had the strength of an ancient star transformation, that didn't mean that Zhuan had the strength to fight against two ancient star transformations. You really are a fool who doesn't know what's good for you. You dare to attack us brothers without even considering your own strength. The black-robed old man who was facing Zhuan laughed wantonly. His right fist was like a bolt of lightning as it violently collided with Zhuan's sword fingers. In his opinion, this fist was enough to smash Zhuan's right hand into pieces. Suddenly, a shrill cry rang out. Zhuan's fingertips shot out a purplish gold energy. The moment it came into contact with the black-robed old man's fist, it was like a grinder that crushed the black-robed old man's right fist into minced meat. The black-robed old man's face was filled with shock and disbelief. He held onto his broken right arm and wanted to retreat. But what he saw was a pair of cold eyes filled with killing intent. Zhuan fully utilized the take advantage of your weakness tactic. He once again raised his finger and pointed at the black-robed old man's forehead. The purplish gold energy shot out from his fingertips was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through the black-robed old man's forehead. The black-robed old man stared at Zhuan in disbelief. He had never imagined that he would be defeated, and so cleanly at that. He could feel his soul slowly dissipating in the depths of his mind. He knew that his soul had completely collapsed. He was finished. You? How can you be so strong? The black-robed old man stared at Zhuan. As he spoke, his corpse fell from the sky. In the instant that Zhuan dealt with the black-robed old man, the other black-robed old man's attack had already landed on Zhuan's back. In just a breath's time, his claws would have pierced through Zhuan's back. His heart would have been crushed. On the other hand, Zhuan remained motionless, but the corner of his mouth revealed a mocking smile. After that, the black-robed old man's claw completely stopped at Zhuan's back. This was because terrifying formation markings were like shackles that firmly restrained his claw, making it impossible for him to move at all. Restriction? You? What did you set it up? The black-robed old man was shocked and could not help but exclaim. This was because he could feel that this restriction was extremely powerful. It was at least a heaven-breaking level 9 restriction. When I attacked, I used my left hand to set it up temporarily. Zhuan slowly turned around, raised his right hand slowly, and pointed at the old man's forehead. After the black-robed old man's right hand was restrained, it completely triggered the restriction on the surface of Zhuan's body, completely imprisoning his entire body in midair. It was difficult for him to even move a finger. You're a heaven-breaking level 9 divine array master? The black-robed old man was finally terrified. This lad was able to set up such a terrifying restriction in such a short time. He was at least a heaven-breaking level 9 divine array master. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to set up a restriction that could imprison him in such a short time. You have too many questions. Go in peace. Zhuan shook his head. His finger landed on the old man's forehead and destroyed his spiritual soul. Zhuan casually waved his sleeve and threw the old man's corpse on the ground. Then, he walked to Lei Ling and the others. Lei Ling, Bingyu, and the others were already stunned. Although they knew that Zhuan was powerful, they did not expect him to be this powerful. Especially Lei Ling. He looked at Zhuan seriously. The strength that Zhuan had displayed was on par with his master, the Divine Thunder Emperor. Moreover, he felt that Zhuan might still be hiding a part of his strength. If he were to show his full strength, how powerful would he be? Zhuan, who are you? Chapter 4080. If Zhuan wanted to join Huxley, with his strength, Lu Renjue would definitely put him in an important position and even promote him to the same position as the three great protectors. However, Zhuan did not do so. Instead, he hid his strength and entered Huxley as King Valurium's disciple. This matter seemed very strange. Bingyu and the others were not fools. When Lei Ling mentioned this, they all reacted and looked at Zhuan cautiously. Zhuan's eyes were calm. The moment he revealed his strength, he knew that his identity would be suspected. Does it matter what my identity is now? All you need to know is that I am not your enemy. As for other things, you don't need to ask. Zhuan said firmly. Lei Ling and the others looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Zhuan was right. His identity was no longer important. Huxley was in danger and could be annihilated at any time. Their priority now was to escape from Huxley and gather strength to recover Huxley in the future. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the tremors in Huxley's sacred city became more violent, and the surrounding space was torn apart even more horribly. Everyone looked up and saw two huge figures rushing out of Huxley's sacred city's space and protective restriction, rushing into the depths of the dark void. They could faintly see the two huge figures carrying huge illusory worlds colliding and exchanging blows in the dark void. The energy ripples created were constantly shattering all matter in the dark void. The two huge figures were the protector of Huxley's sacred city, Liu Yuanba, and the Ghost King who had broken out of the seal. Apparently, the two of them realized that Huxley's sacred city was too narrow and fragile and could not fully unleash its power. Therefore, they both escaped into the dark void and engaged in a truly earth-shattering battle. The experts of the great carefree realm are so terrifying. They can roam freely in the darkness of the chaotic void and are not afraid of the horrors of the dark void. Lei Ling stared at the battle in the depths of the void and sighed with envy. Zhuowen was also silently watching the battle. A flame of determination was ignited in his heart. This was the great carefree realm, jumping out of the domain and not within the five elements, roaming free and unfettered. He had to reach this realm. Go. Now is not the time to be daydreaming. Bing Yu was the calmest among them. He reminded everyone. Everyone came to their senses and entered the supreme temple. On the other hand, Zhuan quietly followed behind them. Lei Ling and the rest did not say anything. Although they knew that Zhuan had an ulterior motive for joining Huxley, they also knew that they were now in the same boat as Zhuan. In the deepest part of Supreme Divine Hall, there was a secret stone chamber. In the stone chamber, there was an entrance to a space-time corridor. The space-time corridor was a passageway that led to the turbulence of space-time. Its starting point was fixed, but its ending point was random. In other words, once they entered the space-time corridor, no one would be able to predict where they would arrive. There was no pattern at all. However, as the space-time corridor covered a vast distance, usually ranging from one domain to several domains, the distance covered was much further than a teleportation portal. Liu Renjuan knew very well that it was useless for Lei Ling and the rest to escape from Hushu, Sacred City. This was because Hushu domain was surrounded by the three big clans. Once Huxley was annihilated, the three big clans would order a search for them. It would be easy to find them, and they wouldn't have the chance to leave Hushu domain. The space-time corridor could help them leave Hushu domain completely. As for where they would end up, it would depend on luck. Everyone, once we enter the space-time corridor, we might be separated. Once we leave the space-time corridor, you must contact me immediately. Outside the space-time door, Lei Ling stopped and said to everyone behind him. Everyone nodded with a grave expression. The space-time door can only allow one person to enter at a time. Let's go one by one. I'll go first. Lei Ling's gaze was solemn. No one objected to Lei Ling going first. Generally speaking, the space-time corridor was very dangerous. Lei Ling wanted to be the first to enter, obviously with an attitude of trying to open up a path for the rest. However, the moment Lei Ling raised his foot and stepped into the dimensional door, he stopped like a statue. Only his pair of eyeballs were rolling around. Senior Lei, what's wrong with you? Bing Yu revealed a look of surprise as he patted Lei Ling's shoulder. A terrifying scene happened. The moment Bing Yu touched Lei Ling, the latter shattered and turned into dust. What's going on? Everyone was dumbfounded and looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. Lei Ling was clearly fine just a moment ago. How did he shatter into dust like glass? Moreover, they could acutely feel that Lei Ling's aura had completely disappeared. This meant that Lei Ling had died without knowing why. Retreat quickly. Zhuan's reaction was the fastest. The moment Lei Ling stopped moving, he sensed something. He shouted and quickly fled to the back. No one noticed that after the thunder spirit shattered, an invisible force spread rapidly into the stone room like mist. In the blink of an eye, Bing Yu and the rest were as though time had stopped and they were motionless. Zhuan's reaction was the fastest. Before the invisible force caught up with him, he had already left the stone room. His divine instinct was extremely sharp. After he left the stone room, he didn't stop but ran out of Supreme God Hall in even faster speed. The invisible force seemed to have sensed Zhuan and chased after him. Its speed was even faster than Zhuan's. The asterisk M in it. Zhuan's face was ghastly. His divine instinct had already sensed that the strange force had already caught up with him. Once the force caught up with him, he would end up like Lei Ling and the rest. Zhuan took out the Tai Emperor's seal without hesitation and smashed it on his heel. Bang! There was the sound of heavy objects colliding. After the Tai Emperor's seal landed, Zhuan instantly felt that the strange force's speed had slowed down. It was as though it had been hit by the Tai Emperor's seal. Zhuan made a prompt decision and rushed out of Supreme God Hall. He then kept the Tai Emperor's seal in his great world. The force chased to the entrance of Supreme God Hall. As though there was a restriction, it didn't dare to chase out of Supreme God Hall. Instead, it slowly retreated into the depths of Supreme God Hall. In the depths of Supreme God Hall, Bingyu and the rest were no longer there. What replaced them was a ground full of debris. Obviously, they had followed in Lei Ling's footsteps. This kid actually managed to escape from my shadowless shattered domain. He can sense my shadowless broken realm. Chapter 4081. Psycho Hongfei. Don't bother with that ant. The three of us have been hiding in the space-time turbulence, waiting for Huxley's people to activate the space-time gate, allowing us to successfully locate the location of the space-time gate inside Huxley. Now that we've successfully entered the space where Huxley's divine city is located, there's no doubt that Huxley's clan has been wiped out. There's no need to bother with that ant. Once we kill Lu Yuanba, Huxley will naturally be at our mercy. Another voice came from within the space-time gate, and then a youth with a star mark between his eyebrows slowly stepped out and walked to the side of the gray-haired boy. Silently following behind the youth was a muscular man with a bare upper body. The surface of the man's muscular body was filled with dense flame marks, and on his abdomen was a large sun that emitted blazing light. This muscular man had a head of red hair, and as soon as he stepped out, the surrounding temperature immediately soared. The entire stone room seemed to have become the inside of a furnace, and even the stone walls on the surface of the stone room began to melt into red lava, unable to withstand the high temperature. The gray-haired boy looked coldly at the star-marked youth and said indifferently, "Ling Xinghai, who am I, and who is that ant? There's no need for me to personally deal with him. I'm just surprised that a mere ant could sense my shadowless shattering domain. That's all." These three people were the realm guardians of the Goldwater Realm, Divine Eye Realm, and Purple Illusion Realm, Saiku Hongfei, Zhu Yangqi, and Ling Xinghai. They were all great carefree realm experts. The space where the divine city of Hushu was located had always been extremely mysterious. Moreover, it had a natural barrier of rules. Without the permission of the divine city of Hushu, experts of the great carefree realm simply couldn't find the specific location of the divine city of Hushu. Even the three clan leaders had been brought in by Lu Renjue, and they had no idea how to enter Huxley's divine city. Thus, the three of them discussed and decided to first lay low in the space-time turbulence near Huxley's divine city. When the three clan leaders completely released the Ghost Kings and launched an all-out attack on Huxley's divine city, the city would definitely fall into chaos. It was very likely that the Lu people would send their most talented juniors to open the portal in Hushu City and enter the space-time corridor in the turbulence of space-time. Once the portal opened, the three of them who were hiding in the turbulence of space-time immediately identified the exact location of the portal in Hushu City. Therefore, they passed through the portal and entered the stone chamber of the Temple of Ultimate. What happened next was exactly what happened just now. The gray-haired boy unleashed his shadowless, shattering territory. First, it ended Lei Ling's life. Then it was Bingyu and the others. However, Zhuan's reaction was too fast, and his divine instincts were too sharp. He immediately retreated, and in the end, successfully escaped from this murderous situation. Oomph. I thought it was one of our people who opened the portal. Who would have thought that he was actually Huxley's junior? Were Yuri and the others incompetent? These juniors couldn't be dealt with in advance? The muscular, red-haired man looked around and snorted coldly. Maybe something unexpected happened. However, in the end, we successfully entered Hushu City. The result is the same. Ling Xinghai smiled faintly. Haha, I can sense that the Ghost King is fighting Lu Yuanba in the outer void. This Lu Yuanba really hid his strength well. He has improved so much. His Qinkun world has already reached the extreme, and there are already gods sitting inside. There are signs of him transforming into Dharma. The gray-haired boy, Psycho Hongfei, frowned slightly as he spoke in a low voice. Ling Xinghai and Zhu Yanqi's expressions became extremely serious. They knew very well that although Lu Yuanba was also facing the Qinkun tribulation like them, he had already reached the peak of the Qinkun tribulation. At any time, he could break through to the second stage of the great unfettered, the universe. The possibility of Dharma. If Lu Yuanba was given another few thousand years, he could very well break through to the universe Dharma. At that time, the three great clans would no longer have the chance to fight against Huxley. Lu Yuanba must die. The three people's gazes emitted a cold, murderous intent, and they quickly reached an agreement to kill Lu Yuanba first. The two of you, I don't think you need me to tell you how great a threat Lu Yuanba is. Today, the three of us must work together and not hold back. If we let Lu Yuanba escape, he will be a great hidden danger. Ling Xinghai suddenly said solemnly. Psycho Hongfei and Zhu Yanqi both nodded repeatedly. They naturally understood the threat Lu Yuanba posed. Today, the three great clans had sent out all their elites, and even the three guardians of the realm had attacked. Their main goal was not to destroy Huxley, but to kill Lu Yuanba. As long as Lu Yuanba died, Huxley would be at their mercy and could be destroyed at any time. Go! After receiving Psycho Hongfei and Zhu Yanqi's affirmation, Ling Xinghai's expression brightened. He pushed off the ground with his right foot and rushed into the void like an angry dragon. The moment he rushed out, the star mark between Ling Xinghai's eyebrows scattered endless starlight, which surrounded his body and turned into starlight armor. Moreover, the starlight was endless and condensed behind him, turning into 6 huge starlight wings. Psycho Hongfei and Zhu Yanqi followed closely behind. Their momentum was no weaker than Ling Xinghai's. Psycho Hongfei expanded his shadowless shattering domain to its limit. Everywhere he passed, space collapsed as if there was an endless explosion. A Daokong-shaped crack formed behind him, like a terrifying tail behind him. Zhu Yanqi's move was simple and crude. The countless flame marks on the surface of his body lit up and left his body, turning into huge fireballs. These fireballs were much larger than the sun. They were densely packed and formed a boundless sea of fire around him. At the same time, the shadows of 3 huge Qinkun worlds condensed in the void behind the 3 of them. Moreover, the shadows continued to solidify, and countless disasters came one after another, densely packed. The momentum of the 3 was really too great. They rushed into the sky, and the huge Supreme Divine Hall was shattered into fine powder. The people of the 3 great clans and Huxley who were fighting were all alarmed. They raised their heads and looked at the 3 terrifying flowing lights that rushed into the depths of the void, revealing a look of shock. That's 3 great carefree realm experts. Lu Rinjue was in an extremely sorry state at the moment. His body was covered with cuts and bruises, and he looked at the 3 flowing lights with a look of horror. Ha ha! Our domain protectors have finally arrived. Lu Rinjue, your Huxley is finished, and your domain protectors are also doomed. Yuri was wild with joy, laughing without restraint. Xiao Zihue and Lung Yinyu also revealed excited smiles. With the 3 domain protectors taking action, Huxley no longer had any chance to turn the tables. No, how is this possible? The whereabouts of the divine city of Hushu have always been secretive. You three great clans don't know its location at all. Why would your domain protectors come in? Lu Renjue's eyes turned red as he roared wildly. Chapter 4082. Lu Renjue was stunned. Tears suddenly flowed out of his eyes as he let out a sorrowful howl. He was like a lonely and helpless old wolf. Lei Ling, Zhuowen, Bingyu, I cause your deaths. My people, I cause your deaths. Lu Renjue was grief-stricken. He realized that it was all because of his decision that he had exposed the location of Hushu City. I don't regret dying. However, my people are innocent. Today, I, Lu Renjue, am willing to sacrifice my blood to Hushu. Lu Renjue stared at Yuri and the other two. Blood chi surged out from the depths of his body, and his aura instantly skyrocketed. Old man, you're crazy. You're burning your blood essence. Yuri's pupils constricted as he said in disbelief. Lu Renjue didn't reply. His blood essence continued to burn, and his aura continued to rise. He had already flown out without any regard for his life and charged towards Yuri and the other two. At this moment, Lu Renjue no longer had any regrets. The only thing in his mind was to kill Yuri and the other two to atone for his sins. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, Lu Renjue clashed with Yuri and the other two again. Unlike before, Lu Renjue, who had been suppressed by Yuri and the other two, finally gained the upper hand this time. He continued to fight, and his injuries continued to increase. However, his aura grew stronger and stronger. I sacrificed my blood to Hushu. The three protectors and the 9 kings of Hushu went completely crazy. They shouted loudly and burned their blood essence. I sacrificed my blood to Hushu. Countless Hushu people who had joined the battle from Hushu City also went crazy. They shouted the same words and burned their blood essence. The entire Hushu City went crazy. In their despair, they released a final ray of light. They swore to destroy the earth and protect the land of their clan. A miracle happened. The 3 great clans, who had originally had the upper hand, were now at a disadvantage. They were even completely suppressed. The ancient star transformation realm experts of the 3 great clans finally began to suffer casualties. On a lonely rock, Zhuowen slowly stood up. He raised his head and gazed at the horrifying battle in the sky. He gazed at the figures that were flying up from Hushu City and descending from the sky like moths flying into a flame. His expression changed. Pucci, suddenly, as if Yuri, Xiao Zihue, and Lung Yinyu suffered a heavy blow, they all spat out mouthfuls of blood, and they all flew back and landed on the ground. As for Lu Renjue, the blood chi in his body seemed to have materialized and surrounded him. His aura had already reached its peak. After reaching the peak, it would rapidly decline. Lu Renjue spat out a mouthful of blood. He laughed bitterly and fell down from the sky. Yuri. Calm, Yuri's, and the other two, Yuri and Yuri, and you. Before Lu Renjue fell to the ground, a figure dashed over like a bolt of black lightning and caught Lu Renjue's body. Cough. Zhuowen? Lu Renjue coughed out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the person who caught him and was pleasantly surprised. Zhuowen looked at the person in front of him with a complicated expression. Lu Renjue's flesh and blood had already withered, and he was only skin and bones. His black hair had also turned white. He also realized that Lu Renjue's aura had been completely cut off. His life force was fading, and he couldn't hold on for much longer. Back then, when he found out about Lu Renjue, he actually had a disgusted attitude. This person wanted to kill Shan Lingyun because she was his illegitimate daughter. In the end, he chased her all the way to Hongwu Shengzhen and took Shan Lingyun away. From the beginning to the end, Zhuowen didn't have a good impression of Lu Renjue. Even when Lu Renjue appreciated him in the absolute divine hall, Zhuowen's attitude towards Lu Renjue had never changed. However, When he saw how Lu Rinjue regretted exposing the location of the holy city of Hushu, and how he burned his blood to atone for the sins of his people, the disgust and hatred in his heart disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by sorrow. "Clan leader, there's someone who wants to see you," Zhuowen said softly. Lu Rinjue looked at Zhuowen in confusion. At this moment, he realized that Zhuowen was a stranger. In other words, he didn't know this young man in front of him at all. However, when he saw the figure that walked out from the parallel world, his gaze froze. He lowered his head and didn't dare to look at her. "Father." The person who appeared in front of Lu Rinjue was Shan Lingyun, who had taught Zhuowen the art of spiritual language. After Zhuowen had obtained the limitless divine medicine, he had already instructed Xiao He in the parallel world to feed the medicine to Shan Lingyun. After swallowing the limitless divine medicine, Shan Lingyun's complexion immediately improved. Her aura also became more vigorous, and her face became rosier. Most importantly, Shan Lingyun, who had been unconscious, had finally regained consciousness. Shan Lingyun also immediately knew what had happened in the holy city of Hushu. Hence, she strongly requested to meet Lu Rinjue. "Am I still worthy of being your father?" Lu Rinjue still didn't look at Shan Lingyun. He smiled bitterly. "Zhuowen, this is why you joined Huxley, right? You came to save Lingyun, right?" Before Shan Lingyun could reply, Lu Rinjue looked at Zhuowen and asked plainly, "Yes, Lingyun is the teacher who taught me the art of spiritual language. I don't dare to forget my teacher's kindness. As her disciple, I naturally can't ignore her." Zhuowen replied calmly, "Father, I'm sorry. Although I predicted that Huxley would face a calamity, I didn't expect it to be a calamity of life and death." Shan Lingyun said with tears in her eyes. Lu Rinjue sighed softly. He patted Shan Lingyun's head and smiled. "Lingyun, I've let you down all these years. I don't blame you for what happened back then. I only blame myself. You're very honest and filial. When we were at the Ghost King Ridge, you and I talked 3 times. The first time, you said that someone would come to save you. The person who would save you was called Zhuowen. You asked me not to make things difficult for him. The second time, you said that Huxley would face a calamity and asked me to take precautions in advance. Today is the 3rd time we have talked. Haha, you were right. You are already the strongest spiritual language master in the world. However, Huxley's people saw you as an omen and didn't want to believe you. They even forced me to imprison you. Lingyun, I'm sorry. Although I'm the patriarch, there are many things that I can't control. As a father, I'm not qualified. As a patriarch, I'm also not qualified. I'm really a terrible person." As he said that, Lu Rinjue forced himself to kneel in front of Shan Lingyun. He cried like a child. "Lingyun, can you forgive your father? I'm willing to bear all the sins. I only ask for your forgiveness. I don't want to see you with guilt. Mother." Chapter 4083. Shan Lingyun silently helped Lu Rinjue up. She hugged him gently and said softly, "Father, I have already forgiven you. In the past, I did hate you. I hated you for chasing me away, for chasing after my master and senior. But as I continue to grow, I gradually understood your difficulties. No matter what you do, there is one thing that cannot be changed. You're my father. You are my father. They are bound by blood by fate." Lu Rinjue finally revealed a smile. He had always felt deeply guilty towards Shan Lingyun. Now that he heard Shan Lingyun forgiving him, he felt relieved. Even if he died now, he had no regrets. "Lu Rinjue, weren't you very impressive just now? In order to deal with us, you did not hesitate to burn your blood essence. Unfortunately, you still can't do anything to us." A cold voice sounded from not far away. The 3 people led by Yuan Lai appeared from their respective landing spots and rushed toward Yi Shiwen's side with an aggressive aura. Yuri and the other 2 people were in a sorry state. Their auras were unstable, and they had been severely injured by Lu Rinjue's desperate attack. However, they still had the strength to fight. As for Lu Rinjue, he was already on the verge of death. Even moving was a luxury. How could he still have the strength to fight? Lu Renjue, your time of death has come, and Huxley is also coming to an end. As long as Lu Yuanba dies, Huxley and Hushi region will not be saved. Lung Yinyu said proudly. Although they were in a sorry state, their hearts were filled with pride. Lu Renjue was not far from death. The 3 protectors of Huxley and the 9 kings of Huxley were also in a tough battle. It was only a matter of time before they were killed. As for the pillars of Huxley region, the Ghost King and the 3 protectors would deal with them. The situation was under the control of the 3 clans. They could finally heave a sigh of relief. As for Shan Lingyun and Zhuowen, who were guarding beside Lu Renjue, the 3 of them did not even put them in their eyes. In their eyes, these 2 were just Huxley's juniors, ants that they could destroy with a wave of their hands. Lu Renjue's eyes were filled with rage. He forcefully propped himself up and protected Shan Lingyun behind him. He said to Zhuowen in a deep voice, "Zhuowen, I will leave Lingyun to you. Hurry up and escape. I'll deal with these 3. As he spoke, Lu Renjue quietly handed a jade slip to Zhuowen and said, "This is the most detailed geographical map of the Hex region. There are a total of 3 shortcuts to leave the Hex region. Let's go before the 3 great clans react. You must escape." Zhuowen put away the jade slip, but he didn't leave. Instead, he gently pressed down on Lu Renjue's shoulder. "Clan leader, let me deal with these 3. You should also have a good rest," Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Lu Renjue looked at Zhuowen in disbelief and hurriedly said in a deep voice, "Zhuowen, do you not know the identity and strength of Yuri Yuri and the rest? They're the clan leaders of the 3 great clans. None of them are weaker than me." Lu Renjue was deeply afraid that Zhuowen did not know how strong Yuri Yuri was, so he constantly emphasized the specific strength and trump cards of the 3 of them. In any case, the reason he wanted to say was very simple. Yuri Yuri and the rest were very strong. They were not people that Zhuowen could deal with. However, Zhuowen's reaction was completely out of Lu Renjue's expectations. Zhuowen only lightly nodded, indicating that he understood the strength of Yuri Yuri and the rest. Then he continued, "Clan leader, don't worry. With the strength of the 3 of them, they can't kill me." Zhuowen's words were not said through voice transmission. Instead, he spoke directly to Lu Renjue. Therefore, Yuri Yuri and the rest also heard clearly. Then, Yuri Yuri and the rest were completely enraged. They felt that their dignity had been completely insulted by these words. Yuri Yuri said in a rage, "What an arrogant ant. You're only at the half-step ancient star transformation, and you dare to say that we can't kill you? Where did you get your confidence from?" Lu Renjue's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly advised, "Zhuowen, don't be rash. Although the 3 of them have been heavily injured by me, they are still very strong. They aren't people that you can deal with." He also felt that Zhuowen was courting death. Zhuowen did not say anything else. Instead, he stomped his foot and directly rushed into the sky. He knew that it was useless to say anything now. In order to let Lu Renjue understand his strength, he had to fight with real swords and spears. "Bastard, you are simply too arrogant." Yuri Yuri was so angry that he directly rushed towards Zhuowen. He had cultivated for countless years and had never seen such an arrogant junior. Therefore, he used his full strength the moment he attacked. Yuri Yuri's natal star was a star surrounded by rings of golden flames. He rushed in front of Zhuowen and suddenly pressed his right hand down. His natal star, burning with golden flames, fell from the sky and smashed toward Zhuowen. Naturally, Zhuowen also summoned his own god fiend at the first moment, the heaven-piercing purple divine tree. Boom! The purple divine tree was really mysterious. Although it was only at the god fiend level, it was extremely sturdy. It actually completely blocked Yuri Yuri's natal star. What? Yuri Yuri was shocked and looked at the purple divine tree in front of him in disbelief. With his divine instinct, he naturally sensed that the purple divine tree in front of him was only Zhuowen's god fiend. Logically speaking, Even the god fiend released by a half-step ancient star transformation expert was far from being able to resist a true ancient star transformation expert's natal star. Yuri originally thought that when his natal star smashed down, the purple divine tree would sensibly shatter. However, the purple divine tree did not shatter. Instead, it was very sturdy. No matter how his natal star smashed, although it was on the verge of collapse, it still managed to withstand. At the same time, the countless purple fruits on the purple divine trees, countless branches also shattered. God fiends with 3 heads and 6 arms drilled out and charged towards Yuri without any regard for their own safety. Yuri frowned slightly. With a wave of his hand, he destroyed a large number of god fiends with 3 heads and 6 arms. These god fiends were too weak for him. He could destroy a large group of them with a single slap. However, there were too many gods and devils, and they surrounded him in layers. This annoyed him to no end, and also caused him quite a bit of trouble. Zhuowen took advantage of this opportunity to circle behind Yuri. At some point, a purple gold divine sword had appeared in his hand. Heaven and earth primordial one ray of heaven. Zhuowen raised his right hand, and the purple gold divine sword slashed out with a blazing sword aura. A terrifying purple gold sword aura shot out with unstoppable momentum and quickly slashed at Yuri's back. Yuri was already prepared. Although he was shocked by Zhuowen's strength, his reaction was fast enough. He pulled out his right hand, and a black gold halberd appeared in his hand. Clang! Chapter 4084. Explode. After Yuri finally blocked this terrifying sword move, an indifferent voice sounded not far away. Then, Yuri suddenly found that the space around him was distorted, and a strange array pattern surged out from the depths of the space. There were too many array patterns like a cage wrapping Yuri inside. What frightened Yuri even more was that these array patterns were extremely unstable, and the energy emitted from them was constantly rising, as if they were about to explode. Yuri knew that these were self-destructing array patterns, and he needed to leave this place immediately. Unfortunately, it was all too late. The moment Zhuowen said the word explode, the array patterns exploded one after another, and a blazing white light emerged, illuminating the entire space into a bright white color, as if a huge sun had appeared in the sky. Zhuowen silently watched the explosion in front of him, his eyes calm and indifferent. After advancing to the half-step ancient star transformation, he knew that his strength was not much different from Lu Ren's. Coupled with his half-step eternal level array skills, his strength was definitely not inferior to the 3 patriarchs. What's more, Yuri was severely injured, and his strength was greatly reduced. Therefore, as soon as Zhuowen came, he could make Yuri look so miserable. In the midst of the explosion, there was a rather mournful scream. It was Yuri's scream. Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu, who heard the scream, felt a chill in their hearts and looked at Zhuowen in horror. They originally thought that Zhuowen was just an ant that could be easily dealt with. But now, this ant had suddenly become a mountain, and Yuri was almost crushed to death by this guy. Bang! A wretched figure fell from the sky and crashed heavily onto the ground. Everyone looked over and gasped. They knew that this sorry figure was Yuri. At this moment, Yuri was in a miserable state. His entire body was charred black and emitted a strong smell of burnt meat. His face was beyond recognition, and he was covered in wounds. He did not look like a normal person at all. Although Yuri was heavily injured again, his vitality was extremely tenacious. He struggled to prop himself up and roared, "Little bastard, I want you dead. I want you Yuri had just roared a few times when his roars turned into screams. This was because Zhuowen had arrived at his side first. Then, he lifted his foot and unceremoniously stepped on Yuri's face, forcefully stomping his face back to the ground. Then, Zhuowen did not hold back. He took out the array disk that he had prepared and activated it, completely imprisoning Yuri Yuri. The array disk that Zhuan had was basically at the half-step eternal level. The imprisonment array in this array disk was naturally more than enough to trap the heavily injured Yuri Yuri. As for Lu Renjue and Shan Lingyun, they were so shocked that they could not even speak. Zhuan was too ferocious. With just a few moves, he had cleanly finished off the Jinshui clan's patriarch, Yuri Yuri. This was too shocking. The experts of the three clans who were originally engaged in battle naturally noticed this scene, especially when they saw Yuri Yuri being stomped to the ground by Zhuan. Their movements became sluggish because of this. Huxley's experts took advantage of this slight flaw and immediately killed several ancient star transformation experts. The elite experts of the three clans were also disrupted because of this. As for Huxley's clansmen, their morale was greatly boosted, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Zhuan's victory was like a timely rain to them, rekindling their hopes. Only the two of you are left. Zhuan raised his head and looked coldly at Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu, who were already dumbfounded, as he spoke slowly. Kid, don't be too arrogant. I admit that you have some strength, but you are still no match for Yuri Yuri. He lost to you because he was already heavily injured and underestimated you. Otherwise, how could you have defeated him? Xiao Zihui said coldly. The situation is clear now. Right now, the situation is very clear. Lu Yuanba won't be able to hold on for too long. If you switch sides and help us destroy the Hushu clan, we will give you a lot of benefits, and will even put you in an important position. Lung Yinyu said calmly to Zhuan. Zhuan's appearance had disrupted their plans. If they could instigate Zhuan to switch sides, it would naturally be the best method for them. Lu Renjue immediately became nervous. The three clans were clearly in a much better situation now, and Zhuan was not a true clansman of Huxley. Zhuan indeed had no reason to risk his life for Huxley. I only want to fight. Why waste time talking? Zhuan shook his head and suddenly shot into the sky like a bolt of lightning, charging towards Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu. Today, he was not fighting for Hisu, nor was he fighting for glory. He was only fighting for his conscience and integrity. In this battle, he only wanted to have a clear conscience, a clear conscience, a clear conscience, and a clear conscience of his own Tao. Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu's faces completely darkened. They knew that this battle was inevitable, so they stopped trying to persuade him. Instead, they both took out their natal lone stars and joined forces to attack. They didn't believe that the two of them wouldn't be able to take down a junior like Zhuan. Bang, bang, bang. The three of them clashed, and the battle was thunderous. Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu were cautious enough and did their best. However, after the real battle with Zhuan, they realized that they had underestimated Zhuan. At the moment of contact, the two of them realized that Zhuan's combat strength was barely on par with theirs, or even slightly inferior. However, what really gave them a headache was Zhuan's mysterious formation skills. In particular, Zhuan always secretly set up formation patterns after a frontal attack, making it impossible for them to guard against it. They finally understood that Zhuan's array Dao level was beyond their expectations. He was actually a half-step, eternal level array Dao divine master. With the help of the formation patterns, Zhuan was like a tiger that had grown wings. Although he was fighting 1 against 2, he was still able to suppress Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu. Is this the rule of the ancient star transformation? During the battle, Zhuan's eyes became more and more enlightened. He had fought with ancient star transformation experts many times, but most of them were at the early stage of the ancient star transformation. Most of them were dealt with cleanly and neatly, so he didn't have the time to carefully understand the specific rules of the ancient star transformation experts. Now, Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu were both at the peak of the ancient star transformation, and they were locked in a fierce battle with him. This gave Zhuan a deeper understanding of the nature of the ancient star transformation. He was already at the half-step ancient star transformation realm and had accumulated enough ancient star transformation. He only needed an opportunity to comprehend it. Once he could find this opportunity, he would be able to smoothly cross the last half step of the ancient star transformation and successfully condense his own lifelone star. And now, it was his chance, a rare, perfect opportunity to comprehend the ancient star transformation rules. The ancient star transformation not only changes one's lifelone star, but also one's own divine power. Zhuowen muttered to himself. Suddenly, his movements slowed down. The purple gold divine sword in his right hand gently slashed out, facing Xiao Zihui's lifelone star. "You're courting death." Xiao Zihue couldn't help but be overjoyed when he saw that Zhuowen was going to take his lifelone star head-on. One had to know that Zhuowen had always avoided his lifelone star and used his purple divine tree to fight against them. But now, this guy was going to take it head-on. Wasn't he courting death? Bang! Zhuowen slashed out with his sword. It was very simple, but there was a strange starlight in the sword. Then, the lifelone star that should have crushed Zhuowen was sent flying by the slash. A deep sword mark appeared on its surface. Chapter 4085. This is Star God Power. This kid is comprehending the ancient star transformation and is evolving step by step. Lung Yinyu's eyes flashed coldly. He could see the mystery of Zhuowen's sword at a glance. Star God Power? But isn't this Star God Power too powerful? Xiao Zihue was in disbelief. She had been in the ancient star transformation for countless years, so she naturally knew about Star God Power. It was the special divine power of ancient star transformation cultivators. It was just that she had never seen a Star God Power that had just transformed into something as abnormal as Zhuowen. He had repelled her natal star with a single sword strike, and had even left such a deep sword mark on it. This kid's combat power can't be measured by common sense. Clan leader Xiao, what are you waiting for? We must get rid of this kid before he evolves. Otherwise, when he successfully evolves, will you and I still be a match for him? Lung Yinyu's eyes were full of murderous intent. As he spoke to Xiao Zihue, he took out 2 scarlet pills. He threw one pill to Xiao Zihue and swallowed the other pill. The supernova divine pill. Xiao Zihue looked at the pill in her hand that Lung Yinyu gave her and said in surprise. The supernova divine pill was a peak divine pill that was at the peak of the 9 levels of heaven. The only use of this divine pill was to unleash all the potential of the natal star in the body of the ancient star transformation cultivator for a short period of time, and then burst out with power that was several times stronger than the cultivator's own. Of course, the side effects of this divine pill were also very great. It was said that it was very harmful to the natal star and could even shatter it directly. This would cause the cultivation level to drop, and it would be difficult to condense a natal star again. It could be said that this was a desperate divine pill. Unless it was a moment of life and death, one would not take such a divine pill. Now, you and I are at the moment of life and death. If we don't kill this kid, we will be the ones to die. Seeing that our 3 clans are about to win, are you willing to die at this juncture? Lung Yinyu urged. Xiao Zihue took a deep breath and did not hesitate for long before swallowing the supernova divine pill in her palm. The moment they swallowed the starburst divine pill, the life star that revolved around the 2 of them surged with a bloody light. If one looked carefully, one would find that their natal stars were burning with raging and unparalleled blood flames, and their power had increased by several times. What was even more terrifying was that the size of their natal lone stars had also increased by about 10 times, which was much more terrifying than before. Attack! We must kill this kid this time. Lung Yinyu's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he flew into the sky. He held the divine weapon in his hand and blasted it toward Zhuowen with the force of 10,000 kilograms. And the huge natal star that surrounded him was like an incomparably majestic mountain that smashed down on Zhuowen's head, as if it wanted to smash him into meat paste. Xiao Zihue was not to be outdone. She attacked from another direction and also launched a full-force attack on Zhuowen. Shameless! You actually took the supernova divine pill. Lu Renjue struggled to stand up with the help of Shan Lingyun. When he saw the state of Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu in the sky, he immediately knew what was going on and cursed with an ugly look on his face. Shan Lingyun looked at Zhuan worriedly. She did not know if the latter could deal with Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu, whose power had increased tremendously. At this moment, Zhuan's eyes were becoming more and more enlightened. It was as if he had fallen into a daze, and his eyes were not focused at all. However, the star god power in his body was becoming stronger and stronger. Moreover, he was still absorbing the power of the stars from the immemorial star and merging it with his own divine power. His star god power was much stronger than the star god power of an ordinary ancient star transformation realm cultivator. It was sharper and more domineering. When Lung Yinyu smashed his natal lone star over, Zhuan still slashed out with his sword. The blade of the purple gold divine sword emitted even more intense starlight. Bam! When the purple gold divine sword collided with the natal lone star, it was as if time had stopped. The surrounding space-time seemed to have stopped. After that, the surrounding space-time started to explode, and a terrifying black hole appeared. Zhuan groaned and could not help but retreat. On the other hand, Lung Yinyu did not move from his original position. However, his natal lone star was pushed back by a few meters. When Zhuan retreated, Xiao Zihui's attack also arrived. Zhuan snorted and took out his purple godfiend tree to block in front of him. The purple gold divine sword in his hand also slashed towards Xiao Zihui rapidly. Boom! Xiao Zihui's natal lone star sent the purple godfiend tree flying. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the purple godfiend tree. It was obvious that it could not take more attacks. On the other hand, Xiao Zihui sneered and slashed out with his sword as well. His star god power poured out. When the two swords collided, countless sparks were wiped out. After that, the two of them flew out. This guy must die. When Lung Yinyu saw that Xiao Zihui, who had taken the Starburst Divine Pill, could only gain a slight advantage, the murderous intent in his eyes became even more intense. He attacked Zhuan again. Lung Yinyu and Xiao Zihui cooperated very well. Their attacks were filled with terrifying murderous intent. They joined forces and attacked Zhuan continuously. Zhuan was forced to retreat under the combined attacks of the two whose auras had skyrocketed. The injuries on his body were also getting more and more serious. Lung Yinyu and Xiao Zihui relaxed when they saw that Zhuan was being suppressed by them. They knew that it would not be long before Zhuan died under their combined attacks. However, they did not realize that Zhuan's aura was rapidly increasing. The more he fought with the two of them, the more terrifying the aura became. Zhuan knew that he was about to break through. Dying. Lung Yinyu and Xiao Zihui took advantage of one of Zhuan's flaws. They attacked Zhuan with their natal lone stars. Although Zhuan tried his best to defend, he still spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. Zhuan, Shan Lingyun, and Lu Renjue shouted in shock. He is not dead yet, but he is severely injured. Let's attack together and kill him completely. Lung Yinyu's eyes revealed a ruthless look. He brought along his natal lone star and swooped down. His aura was like a rainbow, like a falling meteor. Xiao Zihui naturally would not let go of this great opportunity to beat him up. He followed closely behind and was filled with murderous intent. When they were about to reach the deep pit where Zhuan had fallen, two streaks of sword radiance shot into the sky. These two streaks of sword radiance slashed towards Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu respectively. Lung Yinyu and Xiao Zihui did not care. They casually placed their natal lone stars in front of them. However, what shocked them was that when the two streaks of sword radiance rushed towards their natal lone stars, they suddenly manifested two gigantic stars. These two stars were actually twice as large as Lung Yinyu's and Xiao Zihui's natal lone stars. It should be known that Lung Yinyu's and Xiao Zihui's natal lone stars had already grown several times larger with the help of the supernova divine pill. Now, these stars that were suddenly manifested by the sword radiance were even larger than their natal lone stars. It was really unbelievable. Chapter 4086. The two of them looked at the deep pit where Zhuowen had fallen. They couldn't believe that the two sword lights just now had been slashed out by Zhuowen. "You two had a good fight, didn't you? Now it's my turn." An indifferent voice sounded. Then, Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu found that a figure was slowly walking out of the deep pit. This figure was in a sorry state. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that his clothes were ragged and his body was covered with cuts and bruises. But the aura on his body was getting stronger and stronger. As he walked, his aura was increasing at an incredible speed. This figure was none other than Zhuowen. He slowly raised his head and looked at Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu, who were shocked and uncertain, with a cold smile on his face. He had finally taken the last half step and successfully advanced to the ancient star transformation. All the divine power in his body had been successfully converted into powerful star god power. "You advanced to the ancient star transformation?" Lung Yinyu asked with an ugly expression. "What do you think?" Zhuowen smiled, and then he suddenly stomped his right foot. Instantly, the entire ground shook violently. Then a miraculous scene occurred. The earth cracked open, and numerous gigantic meteors shot out from the depths of the earth. When these meteorites rushed out of the ground, Zhuowen waved his right hand, and countless rays of star god power swept out and merged with each ordinary meteorite. Then, the meteorites were reborn and turned into stars that shone brightly. "I've just advanced to the ancient star transformation. I'll use the two of you as practice." Zhuowen glanced at the void and then took a step forward. The stars formed a long star corridor in the sky and extended in front of Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu. Are they all natal lone stars? How could he have so many? Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu were in disbelief. However, after sensing the aura of these stars, they were on the verge of collapse. One person had so many natal lone stars, while they only had one natal lone star. How could they fight? Zhuowen quickly rushed over. Everywhere he passed, the natal lone stars were like the most loyal guards, revolving around him in an elliptical trajectory. When he arrived in front of Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu, countless natal stars scattered around Zhuowen. With him as the center, they formed a unique star domain. Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu were unknowingly trapped in this terrifying star domain. "It's over." Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu were so scared that their faces turned pale. They finally felt the huge gap between them and Zhuowen. However, Zhuowen's attack had already arrived. He only pressed down gently with his right hand, and life-bound lone stars blasted towards the two of them from all directions. Bang, bang, bang. The two of them roared as they tried their best to control their natal stars to protect themselves, blocking the terrifying natal stars around them. Splat! However, the two of them did not last long. They spat out blood, and their natal lone stars could not withstand it and actually shattered. "We have lost." Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu saw their natal lone stars shatter and the countless stars that were smashing towards them from all directions. They knew that the outcome was already decided, and they stopped struggling. Zhuowen clenched his right hand in the air, and the raging stars stopped. He stepped on the stars and arrived in front of the severely injured Xiao Zihui and Lung Yinyu. He took out two confinement array discs, completely confined the two of them, and kept them in his pocket dimension. We have one." Lu Rinjue and Shan Lingyun could not believe what they had just seen. However, when they regained their senses, they were overjoyed. However, they did not realize that Zhuowen was frowning. Zhuowen looked into the depths of the void again, and it was still as calm as water. "What's going on? Why hasn't the calamity of the ancient star transformation happened yet?" Zhuowen mumbled to himself. He had been waiting for this calamity. The ancient star transformation was no small matter. He knew that this calamity would be extremely terrifying. However, the calamity that he had imagined did not happen. Instead, it was unusually calm. Zhuan landed on the ground. Although he was very confused that the calamity of the ancient star transformation had not happened yet, he knew that this was not the time to be puzzled. He waved his sleeves, and numerous natal lone stars shot towards the battle between the three big clans and the Huxley elites. In an instant, there were endless screams in the battle. These stars seemed to have a mind of their own, and they all blasted towards the ancient star transformation elites of the three big clans. However, those who were in the early and middle stages of the ancient star transformation realm could not withstand a single attack from the stars. They were all severely injured by the shattering of their natal lone stars. Huxley's elites took advantage of this opportunity to beat the ancient star transformation elites who had shattered their natal lone stars. In an instant, the three big clans suffered heavy losses. In the blink of an eye, 70% of the ancient star transformation elites were killed. Those who were left were mostly in the late to middle stages of the ancient star transformation realm. However, they were also exhausted. It was only a matter of time before they were defeated. Zhuan landed beside Lu Rinjue and Shan Lingyun. Lu Rinjue hurriedly grabbed Zhuan's arm and said emotionally, "Zhuan, thank you. You saved our Huxley. You are our benefactor." Zhuan shook his head and said, "Huxley's crisis is not over yet. The real battle is not with us. Clan leader, don't move first. Let me treat your injuries first." However, Lu Rinjue refused. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. "My life force has already been cut off. Even the limitless longevity, divine medicine, cannot save me. Don't waste your time." Zhuan fell silent. Lu Rinjue was right. His life force had been cut off. He was already dead. There was no way to save him. Zhuan, the Phantom King, and the three guardians are too terrifying. The Patriarch will not be able to hold on for long. Lingyun, I can only rely on you. I hope you can take good care of her." Lu Rinjue looked at Zhuan with a smile. Zhuan nodded heavily and said, "Patriarch, you can rest assured about this matter. Also, I have already thought of a way out for you. Keep this letter well. After you successfully escape from the Huxley realm, you can open it. If you can't escape, I hope you can destroy this letter and not let it fall into the hands of the three big clans." Lu Rinjue said solemnly. Zhuan received the letter from Lu Rinjue. He carefully kept it and promised Lu Rinjue, "Ha, very good, Zhuan. It is Huxley's fortune to have met you. Thank you. I have no regrets in dying." Lu Rinjue laughed and passed away. Shan Lingyun hugged Lu Rinjue's body tightly. She tried to hold back her tears, but they flowed more and more. The battle between the three big clans and Huxley had finally ended. The ancient star transformation experts of the three big clans were either dead or injured. They were no longer a threat to Huxley. Clan leader. When the three guardians and the 9 kings brought the remaining members of Huxley's clan to Zhuan's side, they found that Lu Rinjue had died. They all knelt on the ground and cried. Chapter 4087. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, Hushu City shook violently. Then, the space where the city was located began to collapse. In the depths of the chaotic void, the battle between Lu Yuanba, the Ghost Kings, and the three guardians had reached its climax. The aftershocks of their battle continued to hit Hushu City. Finally, the space where Hushu City was located reached its limit and began to collapse. Although Hushu City had a strong defense and was surrounded by many restrictive arrays, it could not withstand the power of the space collapse. It would not last long before it was destroyed along with the space collapse. "We have to leave Hushu City immediately." Zhuan looked at the three guardians and the God Thunder King. Since Lu Rinjue had died, the 4 of them had temporarily become the leaders of Huxley. However, to Zhuan's surprise, the 3 guardians, the God Thunder King, and the 9 kings of Huxley all knelt down before him. "Lord Zhua, Patriarch Lu has passed away. You are so powerful that you helped us defeat the elite warriors of the three ancient clans. From now on, you are the patriarch of Huxley." Guardian Wan Yin, the leader of the three guardians, raised his head and said sincerely to Zhuowen, "Please become the patriarch of Huxley." Everyone was also looking at Zhuowen fervently. They had all seen Zhuowen's strength. Moreover, Zhuowen had saved them. Therefore, they were all willing to accept Zhuowen as the new patriarch of Huxley. Zhuowen shook his head and said with a faint smile, "I am not a member of Huxley. I am not qualified to be your patriarch. However, I have someone to recommend to you." "Who?" Guardian Wan Yin asked. Zhuowen held Shan Lingyun's hand and said, "My master, Shan Lingyun." She was the strongest spiritual master of speech at that time. She is also my master. The position of patriarch is hers. This, Huxley and the others looked hesitant. They naturally knew about Shan Lingyun's identity. Furthermore, many of the Hushu tribe members looked down on Shan Lingyun's birth. Now that Shan Lingyun was their clan leader, they subconsciously felt that something was wrong. The three great guardians exchanged glances. Although they didn't think much of Shan Lingyun, they noticed the meaning behind Zhuowen's words. Shan Lingyun was Zhuowen's master. As long as he could get Shan Lingyun on his side, he would be indirectly getting Zhuowen on his side as well. "We are willing to appoint Shan Lingyun as the new leader of Huxley." The three protectors and the 9 kings were the first to express their stance. They understood what Zhuowen was implying. If they wanted to rope him in, they had to support Shan Lingyun. "Disciple, how am I qualified to be the clan leader?" Shan Lingyun was at a loss. Zhuowen rubbed Shan Lingyun's head gently and said with a smile, "Master, when Patriarch Lu sees that you can inherit his position, I think he will be gratified in the underworld. Don't tell me you don't want to inherit his legacy?" Shan Lingyun's petite body trembled when she heard this. Then, her eyes were filled with determination. She nodded heavily and said, "Disciple, you are right. I am my father's daughter. I should inherit his legacy and lead our Huxley to survive." The rest of the Huxley people didn't dare to have any objections when they saw that the three great guardians and the 9 kings were supporting Shan Lingyun. They all addressed Shan Lingyun as the clan leader. "Let's leave this place quickly. Hushu City can't hold on for much longer." Zhuowen realized that Hushu City was starting to collapse. It would probably collapse completely soon. Therefore, he pulled Shan Lingyun and led a group of people toward Huxley's teleportation portal. Although the three great guardians had already left the Temple of Ultimate God, Zhuowen would never return to the space-time corridor in the Temple of Ultimate God. After all, no one knew if they had set up some killing moves in the Temple of Ultimate God. If he went in again, he would be courting death. Most of the teleportation portals in Hushu City had been destroyed because of the battle. There weren't many left. Zhuowen, Shan Lingyun, the three great guardians, and the 9 kings were the higher-ups of Huxley. They consciously stayed at the back and arranged for the people of Huxley to use the teleportation portal to leave Hushu City first. "Master, the clan leader gave me this jade slip. It records 3 shortcuts to leave the Hushu region. As long as we use these 3 shortcuts to leave the Hushu region, we will definitely be able to shake off the pursuit of the 3 great clans." Zhuowen gave Shan Lingyun a copy of the jade slip that Lu Rinjue had given him and instructed her in a low voice. Zhuowen believed that with the shortcuts in the jade slip and Shan Lingyun's powerful spirit language technique, they would be able to avoid the eyes and ears of the 3 great clans. Although the clan leaders and elite experts of the 3 great clans had basically died in Hushu City, Zhuowen knew that since the 3 great clans had made up their minds to kill Huxley, they would definitely have a backup plan. Therefore, after they escaped from Hushu City, they couldn't let their guard down. Shan Lingyun took the jade slip and looked at Zhuowen with gratitude. She was very emotional. She didn't expect that the only disciple she had ever taken in her life would become so amazing. She was filled with pride. As Zhuowen and the others arranged for clan leader Huxley to leave in an orderly manner, the battle between the 5 stalwart figures in the depths of the chaos void also came to an end. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded. A figure in a sorry state flew out. After smashing through hundreds of huge meteorites, he landed on a dead planet fragment. Splat! Lu Yuanba had just landed on the planet fragment when he spat out a mouthful of blood. There was a huge wound in his chest that had been pierced through. The huge Qian Kuan world floating behind him was dim and lightless. Dense cracks appeared on its surface. It was already riddled with holes. The god guarding the Qian Kuan world was in an even worse state. His right arm and left leg were torn apart. He was covered in wounds, and his aura was extremely weak. Hee. Lu Yuanba, your strength is not bad. You can actually fight with the four of us to this extent. It's a pity that you didn't manage to condense the cosmic form. If not for the fact that my strength hasn't recovered to its peak, you wouldn't have been able to force me with your strength. I'm in such a sorry state. A gust of black fog attacked. The Ghost King's huge figure appeared not far away from the planet fragment. The Ghost King's condition wasn't much better. Whether it was the Qian Kun world or the god inside the world, they were all covered in wounds and dim. Before the realm guardians of the three great clans arrived, the Ghost King had been at a disadvantage in the battle with Lu Yuanba. The Ghost King had originally thought that Lu Yuanba was just an ordinary cultivator of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. He didn't expect that this fellow had already taken half a step into the cosmic form realm. Chapter 4088. But what Lu Yuanba did not expect was that Psycho Hongfei, Zhu Yangqi, and Ling Xinghai would violate the rules of the domain, intrude into their Huxley, and launch a sneak attack on him. Lu Yuanba did not expect the sneak attack to succeed and was severely injured. Then, Psycho Hongfei, Zhu Yangqi, and Ling Xinghai shamelessly joined forces with the Ghost King and launched a destructive attack on him. Lu Yuanba used all his skills, but unfortunately, his momentum was gone. He was beaten back by the four people, and his injuries became more and more serious. Now, Lu Yuanba was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Not only was the Qinquan world almost destroyed, even the gods guarding the Qinquan world were so weak that they no longer had the strength to fight. The Ghost King and the others obviously knew that Lu Yuanba was a lamp that had run out of oil, so they were not in a hurry to attack. Lu Yuanba, your scheming is really deep. In the past, during the domain conference, you never revealed your strength. But we did not expect your cultivation to have reached such a level. The three of us were also deceived by you. Psycho Hongfei was floating not far away. He looked coldly at Lu Yuanba. Psycho Hongfei, Ling Xinghai, Zhu Yangqi, you are really despicable. You actually joined forces with the Ghost King, an evil demon. If this matter is known by the other domains, the three of you will be condemned by everyone. Lu Yuanba said coldly. Ling Xinghai sneered. Lu Yuanba, you are really naive. Don't you know that the winner is king and the loser is in the wrong? As long as your Huxley is destroyed. So what if the other domains know? Our three great clans only need to fabricate a random reason is enough. No one will take the initiative to become enemies with our three great clans for a clan that has already been destroyed. Moreover, our three great clans did not join forces with the Ghost King. It was your Huxley that released the Ghost King in an attempt to overthrow our three great clans. Our three great clans were only passively retaliating. Do you think we should be blamed? Lu Yuanba was infuriated. This Ling Xinghai was truly shameless and was distorting the truth. However, Lu Yuanba also knew that Ling Xinghai was right. In this world, justice always stood on the side of the victor. Huxley had lost, and the three clans could easily smear his name and put themselves in a high position, because this was the privilege of the victor. Humans are truly treacherous and cunning. The Ghost King's eyes were filled with disdain as he muttered to himself. Zhu Yangqi said solemnly, Lu Yuanba, right now, there's only one path in front of you, and that is to submit to us and become an eternal servant of our three great clans. This way you can still live. Saika Hongfei and Ling Xinghai also looked at Lu Yuanba. They didn't say anything, obviously agreeing with Zhu Yangqi's suggestion. He saw the determination in their eyes. Finally, Zhuan's gaze fell on King Luke, and he said in a low voice, "Luke, follow us and leave first." Luke shook his head and suddenly bowed deeply to Zhuan, saying, "Master, thank you for saving Huxley. Following you is the best thing that Luke has done in his life." Boom, boom, boom. The explosion in the chaotic void expanded rapidly, and in an instant, it spread to the space where the holy city of Hushu was located. Suddenly, the holy city of Hushu, which was on the verge of collapse, was completely torn apart. "Master, let's go. I'll leave the tribe leader to you. Perhaps in the future, Huxley tribe can be revived in her hands." Luke quickly activated the teleportation formation and pulled Zhuan and Shanling Yun into it. White light flashed, and Zhuan silently turned his head, looking at the smile on Luke's face and the determination on the faces of the others. He understood their choice. Chapter 4089. A burst of white light flashed past, and Zhuan and Shanling Yun appeared in a valley with desolate expressions. At this moment, there were many Huxley tribesmen standing in the valley. They were all looking at Zhuan and Shanling Yun with hope in their eyes. "Lord Zhua, Chief, where are the guardians?" When the Huxley tribesmen saw that only Zhuan and Shanling Yun had come out, they finally realized that something was wrong and hurriedly asked. Shanling Yun's eyes were red, and large drops of tears flowed down her cheeks. She sobbed and said, I'm sorry. They chose to stay in Hushu City." Zhuan patted Shanling Yun's head and said to the Huxley tribesmen, "This is the choice of the 3 guardians and the 9 Huxley kings. I respect their choice. At the same time, I will keep my promise and bring all of you out of Hushu region safely." The Huxley tribesmen felt as if they had been dealt a heavy blow. Their eyes were all red. Although they were very sad, they were more determined. They knew that the task of reviving Huxley had fallen on their shoulders. They could not give up. Boom, boom, boom. In the distant sky, a dazzling light suddenly exploded. This light was like countless stars exploding. It almost lit up the entire Hushu region. At this moment, countless living beings in Hushu region were attracted by this dazzling light. They all looked up. Hushu City finally couldn't take it anymore. It completely exploded and dissipated. The Huxley tribesmen all knelt on the ground and bowed to the dazzling light. They didn't cry, nor did they curse. They were very quiet. Their eyes were filled with resolute hope and the flames of revenge. They knew very well that they carried the hope of the entire Huxley tribesmen. They had to pass on this hope. In the future, they would return to Hushu region and make the Jinshui tribe, God's Eye, and Purple Mirage pay a huge price. "Lord Zhua, Chief, please bring us out of here." The Huxley tribesmen shouted in unison. Zhua nodded. He took out a huge ship and sent everyone into it. Then, he drove the ship towards one of the shortcuts in the Jade Scroll that Lu Rinjue had given him. As a precaution, Zhuan took out 2 more ships and flew towards the other 2 shortcuts. In addition, he set up a large number of defensive and concealment arrays on the surface of each ship. "Master, give these array discs to everyone. Remember, 2 per person." Zhuan took out a shocking number of array discs and instructed Shan Lingyun to distribute them to the others. "Disciple, what array discs are these?" Lingyun asked curiously. "Teleportation array discs. What I'm most afraid of now is that old ancestor Lu's self-detonation wasn't able to completely destroy the Ghost King and the others. If they don't die, their next target will be us. This teleportation array discs was prepared for that. Of course, it would be best if they died," Zhuan said in a low voice. At that time, when Lu Yuanba self-destructed, He was tightly holding on his Psycho Hongfei's body. Psycho Hongfei was at the core of the explosion. With that kind of terrifying self-destruction energy, even an expert of the same realm as Lu Yuanba might die. Not to mention Psycho Hongfei, whose strength was inferior to Lu Yuanba's. Ling Xinghai actually had the same thought. Just as he was about to speak, a sinister voice came from nearby. Brother Zhu, Brother Ling, you guys want nothing more than for me to die in Lu Yuanba's hands, right? Ling Xinghai and Zhu Yangqi were shocked and hurriedly looked towards the source of the voice. Tens of thousands of meters behind them, the void slowly cracked open as if some invisible force was tearing the void apart. Psycho Hongfei, who looked like a gray-haired boy, walked out with difficulty. Chapter 4090. Not only that, but Psycho Hongfei's spirit was also in a terrible state. He was experiencing the pain of being torn to pieces and then forcibly pieced back together. Although he looked much better than Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai, he was in a much better state. In reality, Psycho Hongfei's injuries were much more serious than the other two. The moment Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai self-destructed, they had already put away their Qiankuan worlds. They had also restrained their auras to the extreme to avoid serious injuries. Psycho Hongfei was at the center of the explosion. The situation had been extremely urgent, so he hadn't even had time to put away his Qiankuan world before he was engulfed by the explosion. Whether it was his Qiankuan world, his physical body, or his spirit, they were all thoroughly destroyed in an instant. If Psycho Hongfei didn't have a unique power of the shadowless shattering domain, he probably would have been killed on the spot. Damn it, we've really suffered a double loss this time. Psycho Hongfei's chest was burning with rage. Not only had the leaders and elites of the three great clans perished in Hushu City, but he was also so severely injured that he was on the verge of death. They had originally planned to divide the resources of Hushu City. Now that the city was completely destroyed, he didn't even get a single benefit. How could Psycho Hongfei not be angry? Ling Xinghai and Zhu Yangqi understood Psycho Hongfei's meaning. Their expressions were also very ugly. They had thought that the surprise attack would succeed smoothly, but they hadn't expected that it would end in a situation where both sides suffered great losses. They hadn't expected this either. Not far away, the Ghost King gloated as he watched the flustered and exasperated Psycho Hongfei and the others. He was already very unhappy with the spirit contract that the three of them had made for him. Now that he could see the three of them suffer, he was naturally happy to see them suffer. Lu Yuanba, you risked your life to protect your clansmen. Fine, I'll kill every last one of your clansmen to vent my anger. Psycho Hongfei couldn't take this lying down. He looked at Ling Xinghai and Zhu Yangqi and said, Brother Zhu, Brother Ling, come with me to hunt down the rest of Huxley's clansmen. However, Zhu Yangqi and Ling Xinghai shook their heads and said, We won't go. The rest of Huxley's clansmen are insignificant. We won't get involved. Oof. Psycho Hongfei snorted coldly. He didn't make any further demands. Instead, he opened his shadowless, shattering domain and left the chaotic starry sky. Brother Psycho, you're being too impulsive. We've already set up an inescapable net in Hex Realm. If Huxley's people want to leave Hex Realm, they won't be able to escape our eyes and ears. Moreover, our injuries are so serious that we should treat them as soon as possible. Otherwise, if we miss the best time to treat our injuries, there will definitely be hidden dangers in the future. Ghost King, come back with us. We opened up a space between the three realms.